All right, hey everyone, this is Mast, and welcome back to some more Deadlock. Patch notes, that is. Yeah, wasn't expecting to do a patch notes video. Patch dropped. I was just in a game. Patch dropped. Surprise. Check this out. That's a lot. That is, you guys seeing like 10 changes per hero? There is a lot of stuff. I have not read through it yet. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, we're doing a patch notes video. Oh my God, this seems like an absolutely massive balance patch. Let's get into it. Let's see what's going on. So General can now jump during slide. Dash jump grants a very brief period with increased air control. Now, based on the phrasing here, because I feel like this kind of sounds like both of these are the same thing, I am assuming they're referring to dash jumping, the mechanic where you dash and then jump and it uses 2 stamina and you move a little bit different. That grants a very brief period with increased air control, and the jump during slide is just a separate thing entirely, which you already like kind of could do, unless I'm somehow picturing it a little bit different. I've not gotten into game with it quite yet. You could already kind of do that. I'm assuming they just made it a little bit easier, basically. Shrine is now easier to kill for the first one and harder for the second. HP from 8,100 to 5,000 to 10,000. So similar to when walkers die and HP gets transferred, which is a thing if you don't know. I was reminded recently when I had come back to Deadlock after a break. Yeah, basically the first shrine will be easier to kill. And then once you kill that first one, the next shrine will get doubled HP. It will be harder to kill. Overall, based on the numbies, shrines are very slightly easier to kill in total, but that first shrine is going to be way easier. The second shrine is going to be way harder, is how it's going to work out. Shrine attack no longer hits heroes under the shrine. Not that big of a deal, just kind of fixing hitboxes a little bit. Super troopers are getting their DPS enhanced, the upgraded troopers when the shrines die. Middle lane troopers now get upgraded when either of the shrines die rather than when both die. That'll be potentially a big one. I feel like generally speaking right now in Deadlock, you either lose no shrines or 2 shrines, so it probably won't matter too much, but we'll see. And then this is very interesting. I don't think it'll matter all that much, but it's cool. Killing a pair of base guardians now spawns a zipline boosted trooper wave to reinforce your push. So of course, like they'll catch up way sooner. Doubt it matters all that much, right? Like generally speaking, if you've killed the pair of base guardians, you're kind of doing what you're doing. Generally, minions don't feel too important for shrine pushes at the moment. So medic troopers DPS grows by 3% per minute. Doubt that matters that much. Oh my God, late game, that medic trooper's really gonna kill me. Troopers now gain 7 HP regen when out of combat. That might end up mattering a decent amount. We'll have to see. Trooper wave interval increased from every 25 seconds to every 20 seconds, starting at 35 minutes, which is way off, deeper down the road. Basically, just minions will push more often, way late in the game. Generally speaking, when you're hitting that 35-minute point, that's kind of when the game is starting to feel long. And so, of course, some games will hit like the 50-minute point and it's miserable. Makes sense to spawn minions more often, give more opportunity to push, more of an emphasis on controlling waves and stuff. Guardian's bounty increased from 1,000 to 1,500. That's a pretty big deal right there. That's a very big boost to objective farm, right? Especially because right now Guardians kind of aren't that good as far as farm or objectives themselves. It's much more focused on the Walker. Walker bounty increased from 3,500 to 4,000. Naturally, it makes sense that this isn't as big of a deal because Walkers are already a big deal. Walker's health rescaled from 6,800 to 11,900 to 6,000 to 12,000. Slightly weaker early, very, very, very slightly tankier later on. So not too big of a deal there either. Walker's armor decay rescaled from plus 75% to 50% to plus 65% to minus 65% from over 20 minutes to over 18 minutes. Base Guardian's bounty from 750 to 1,000. Shrine's bounty increased from 0 to 2,000. Mid-boss base bounty increased from 2,000 to 3,000. Oh my God. Mid-boss base HP increased from 11,900 to 13,000. Mid-boss global announcement health threshold reduced from 70% to 50%. Maybe some speedier mid-bosses in our future, some sneaky mid-bosses. Should help a decent amount for trying to get it done quick, depending on what stage of the game you're at or what your comp is or whatever. Mid-boss now has 35% debuff resistance. Okay. I mean, sure, but like that's kind of funny. I feel like that's probably generally not going to matter that much. Maybe I'm sleeping on it. Like in my head, I'm mostly picturing stuff like Infernus would get like slightly affected by that. Rejuve drop duration reduced from 7 seconds to 6 seconds. Rejuve duration no longer refreshes when hitting a crystal later. What? Oh, I wasn't even thinking this was a thing. I didn't know about this. I guess it's like slightly a bug fix. Yeah, so the drop duration reduced. Trying to picture the animation fits it right now, right? Is that like, are they trying to make the animation fit more, or do they just like this and they change the animation? I can't tell if I'm just used to it because I'm used to it. I can't picture it in my head right now. But yeah, hypothetically, I guess you can cheese rejuve duration by holding an extra crystal. I didn't even know people were doing that. Bunch of nerds. Bunch of E6 nerds. Minimap now indicates if the urn is a favored, neutral, or unfavored. Thank God, man. Took long enough. Added a neutral camp, 2 normal, 3 weak at Hidden King Parkwalker. Added a neutral camp, 2 normal, 3 weak, and Arc Mother York Walker. Added 0-way veils underneath the shrine platforms in each base. I'm going to assume 0-way veils mean it's a veil on both sides, so neither sides can see, and that is the point of the 0-way. Interesting thing to play around with. Would be cool if we see more veils like that in the future, because that being the shrine platforms, hypothetically, is not that impactful. However, could also actually be really interesting, because if it's at the shrine platforms, you could like tuck the team in a little bit and jump somebody. So that could have some like really cool gameplay. But because it's 0-way, you don't get to see out from underneath. But you should have map vision, because you're going to have like, it's your base and stuff, right? You'll probably have vision from the base. So that could be an interesting mechanic. Move the mid lane bridge above the Hidden King base entrance. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought they were talking about mid. Move the mid lane bridge above the Hidden King base entrance more to the middle of the 2 edges. Subsequent CC reduction increased from 8% to 24% to 10% to 30%. Window from 7 seconds to 8 seconds. So basically diminishing returns, which is a big thing in Smite, is going to be like a little bit stronger. So it's now more frequent that you can have that window where CC is getting reduced. And then also the CC reduction is slightly larger. Move speed diminishing ramp now occurs around 11 meters rather than 10 meters. Oh, okay. I was getting so confused. It's like, you do not slow down for people being near you. I see. Like meters per second is what they're saying. Right. Fixed melee abilities not using conditional damage based on enemy state. Oh, nice. This took forever, man. I have been waiting for this for so long. So basically fixed melee abilities not using conditional damage. I wasn't even picturing, I don't know for sure how many abilities did this. To me, the big one that really stood out is Viscous 3. So I'm assuming, when they just say generally fixed melee abilities, that it should apply for Viscous 3. I'll be curious to see how they're going to choose to make it work. Because hypothetically, if Point Blank is applying from Viscous's location, if Viscous 3's you from far away, which is normally what Viscous does, then Point Blank won't apply. But Point Blank is a punch. So if they want to consider it from the punch perspective, Point Blank should apply, but they could also make it so Sharpshooter applies. I'll be curious to get in game and see what they did with that. Like if Sharpshooter is going to make Viscous 3 a nightmare, if Point Blank will make Viscous 3 a nightmare, like sort of if they can both work, if only one works, whatever it may be. Well, Point Blank would definitely sometimes work. I don't know if Sharpshooter will ever work, depending on how they decided to set it up. Street Brawl removed item slot limit. Don't need to sell items in the final round sometimes. Yo, just get even more items forehead. That's pretty cool. New item. Added new T1 spirit item. Golden Goose Egg. Brother, say what it does. Are you kidding? Is it going to be down here? I don't know that it is. We'll go in game. You can't just say we added an item and then not say what the item is. What the hell, Valve? You sick bastards. Extended mag got slightly more damage. High velocity no longer has fire rate. Now it's a little bit of weapon damage. The weapon damage is higher than the fire rate, so it'll make it slightly better early game. Bullet velocity went up 10% on it. Fall off range on long range increased to something that's not like incredibly negligible, so that's cool. Active reload, you can now reload while already full when carrying this item. Will be very nice. About time. Opening rounds got a nice buff. Swift Striker as well. Mystic Shot damage spirit scaling increased from 0.8 to 1.0. Oh my god, we're getting back to Mystic Shot meta. Here it comes. So many heroes used to buy this item so often. This isn't enough on its own, but this is pretty nice for it. Split Shot cooldown reduced from 32 seconds to 24 seconds because it became absolute cheeks. Now support. Why? What have they done? What have they done? Enabled for Celeste? What have they done? Celeste one is going to be going fucking everywhere, man. It already ricochets off walls. That might... Oh, God. People already hated her for the ball build. Are you telling me she now gets like one every single thing in existence build? Split Shot still overall sucks, but that might actually be insane. We'll have to see. Backstabber renamed to Stalker. No longer procs based on angles of attack, but instead based on doing bullet or melee damage within 8 meters of a hero target. No longer has a proximity requirement for the overtime bonuses. Damn, so Stalker is more of a like, it's sort of like an assassin style close quarters now, where it's still like proccing the same effects, but it's not doing it from back shots, which will be so sad, man. I don't get to talk about my back shots anymore, but instead will be like from actually just kind of generally assassinating. So like Drifter 2-1 combo, generally was good at proccing back shots before, but now we'll just straight up proc Stalker. So less good on stuff like Haze from range happening to shoot you in the back very slightly. And way better on, I don't know, like Calico getting up in your face with a 2 and shooting you a single time and stuff like that. So should probably make it stronger, more consistent, just have a better identity as an item. Makes sense. Melee charge. Heavy melee bonus damage now works with heavy melee abilities. Wasn't that a thing? Did that bug at some point? I swear that used to proc. Like, I swear I tested it and it 100% worked. But I don't know, it's been a while since I have. Maybe it wasn't. So that would be like Viscous 3, for example. If you have melee charge up, the heavy melee bonus damage on melee charge would proc on your 3. I swear that used to be a thing, but maybe it bugged. I don't know. Spirit Shredder Bullets gets a big lifesteal buff. That's huge. 4% extra lifesteal on it. Should make it feel a lot better. Weakening Headshot, slight buff, ballistic enhancement, less range, more weapon damage per stack, but then also harder to get the weapon damage because of less range to some degree. Yeah, so more focused on the weapon amp, less on the range. Probably good change. The range felt kind of crazy. Probably a good way to kind of rebalance it just a little bit. Hunter's Aura is they did what? Man. Oh. Solo hero multiplier reduced from 3 times to 2 times. Bullet resist reduction increased. Fire rate reduction increased. So basically, if you actually catch somebody isolated, it's a little less rewarding. However, if you're just generally around people, then it's slightly more rewarding. Which I kind of thought part of what made the item cool was it like dropped off a lot harder than that. So personally, I feel like it's a little disappointing. Weighted shots now builds from slowing bullets. Okay. That seems like a big one. Has slowing bullets passive. Big surprise considering it builds out of it. No longer grants resist. Now grants minus 0.5 move speed. You are quite literally weighing yourself down with the shots. No longer grants the minus bullet velocity. Debuff resist increased. Weapon damage increased. Stamina reduction reduced. But is still a thing. Okay, so a little bit of sharpshooter here. If we're going weighted shot sharpshooter build, unless they change sharpshooter later on, you're getting minus 1.5, which didn't used to be a thing, by the way. Like, normally people would not be buying both of those. But minus 1.5 move speed. You are like a tank. You are so slow, slowly crawling around the map, but you slow, and you do big weapon damage, and you no longer have that reduced bullet velocity. Little interesting. I doubt it's like something you actually want to build. I think they'd feel terrible, but it's kind of an interesting build to slow the shit out of yourself and do big damage, be a turret. I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to try it, even though it probably feels terrible. Express shot ammo consume change from minus 30% to 2 ammo. That's huge. That's a big one right there. So express shot, generally speaking, just got massively buffed as far as its ammo consumption. Because I'm trying to picture any single hero where that's worse. I think there's none of them. So some of the heroes that are a little weird that actually have a decent amount of ammo but still could use express shot well, generally it just got buffed. And then stuff like kinetic dash and stuff can work a little cleaner with it. That's a pretty big deal. Oh my God. Blood Tribute no longer has healing reduction. Self-damage increased from 40 to 50. Yo, that could be pretty sick. Going super greedy Blood Tribute like Vamp Burst just got a lot stronger. We'll have to play around with that. Spirit Rend, oh my God, it's beautiful. Cooldown reduced from, it's not that good of a buff, but cooldown reduced from 2.2 to 2 seconds. Easier to proc Spirit Rend, and then of course it got the lifesteal change from Spirit Shredder Bullets. Crushing Fist, similar to melee charge, heavy melee bonus damage now works with heavy melee abilities. Frenzy just getting generally buffed. Now the conditions got nerfed, the base stats got buffed. Spiritual Overflow grants more spirit power. Bro, they switched it back. All right. I'm trying to remember. What was it once upon a time? I am pretty sure it's been a while. I am pretty sure that once upon a time, Spiritual Overflow was Fire Rate, Spirit, and Cooldown. And then they reworked it when the item update came out like 9 months ago or whatever to Fire Rate, Spirit Power, Duration. And then after that, they were like, you know what? This kind of doesn't make sense. So they put it back to cooldown, but nerfed the cooldown because that was around the time they nerfed cooldown in general. Now they're putting it back to duration. Make up your fucking mind, Yoshi. What is going on over at Valve HQ, man? Are you guys okay? What's in the water over there? Just pick one and pick this one. This one's dumb. Who cares about duration on Spiritual Overflow? I swear it makes no sense. The cooldown was kind of underwhelming because cooldown got nerfed overall, but I feel like it's the only one that makes sense with the item out of pick a different stat, man. Just choose neither of these at this point. Am I crazy? Am I taking crazy pills? Extra health got even healthier. Oh my God. 25 more HP. Does quick math. Enduring speed, fixed slow resistance interaction with dash slows. Resto Locket range increased, which means how easily you're getting stacks as far as being close to somebody. Max stamina regen increased from 3 to 4. Really? Damn. Now always restores at least 1 stamina. So even more stamina from Resto Locket. It can be crazy. Return fire, returning damage now always hits the target's body. No longer headshotting at all. Bullet damage returned reduced. Damn, they hate return fire over there. And almost nobody's buying it anyways. Weapon shielding damage threshold increased from 150 to 250. Cooldown reduced from 45 seconds to 35 seconds. That feels probably like a nerf. Yeah, I feel like almost nobody buys this item. Am I tripping? I feel like the shieldings tend to feel underwhelming in general. And then normally if you're buying anyone, it's spirit shielding at the moment. And then I feel like it's way harder to proc that weapon shielding now. So even though the cooldown is reduced, like late game, it's better. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of probably not great for the item that already doesn't tend to get bought that much. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Maybe people started liking it at some point. Bullet resilience, low health threshold increased from 40% to 50%. Low health resistance reduced from 22% to 15%. Damn, they are really farming the bonus resist on the resiliences right now. So it is easier to proc by quite a bit, but they'd already made like a big pass of that recently where it used to be 30% and 30% or 30% and 35%. Or I think what they've both been at different times. And then more recently got nerfed to what they were, to what it lists right there. And then now getting nerfed even harder. So like the potential resist you're getting is going to be 45% if you're under 50% HP rather than like at 1.65%. But of course you had to be lower for it. You had to be under 30. Yeah, definitely seems like maybe they just take that out in the future. Like maybe we just make it a flat resist item and it's super boring. It's already a boring item, man. Maybe we should just give it a simpler number. I don't know. Life Strike. Heal on melee hit reduced from 160 to 100 plus 1.5 per boon. Okay, so Life Strike early game taking a pretty big hit is a pretty big deal. And then heal on melee hit percentage reduced. Oh my God, it's taken a massive hit to 50% to 30% plus 0.5% per boon. So this one is getting generally around like a similar point by the time you're getting late in the game. But early game, like pretty big hit. Getting nerfed by like 30, 40%. And so many people bum rush Life Strike if it's an irrelevant build. So that's going to be a big hit to Life Strike. Being OP early game. Majestic Leap Barrier sucks less, 140 to 200. Trophy Collector, oh, we're eating good. God, what percent would this be? Trophy Collector gets like 15% more souls per minute now. Oh, does that actually make it a good item? Probably not. I feel like it's generally inherently flawed with the way the game is played. However, there's a little bit of a farm angle there. A little bit more of it. Dispel magic cooldown reduced. That probably is pretty fitting right now. It's felt very long for what it's currently doing at the moment. So down 10 seconds, that's a really big buff. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the good shit right there. Fortitude time to regen reduced from 13 to 10. Way easier to proc Fortitude now. That's super nice. Spellbreaker, because it got gutted recently. It used to heal so much more. It heals less now. So being able to heal sooner is a big deal. Spellbreaker, high instant damage reduction reduced from 75% to 65%. Damn. Spellbreaker losing value, huh? I already kind of felt like Spellbreaker was easy to overrate for the passive. The base stats are solid. If you're looking for debuff resist and spirit resist, the base stats are solid. But I feel like a lot of the time, the thing with Spellbreaker, it's not that this isn't really good. It's that it's too easy to proc on something that's less relevant. Like if you eat, let's say like an Abrams 2 and you're getting super comboed, you can eat an Abrams 2, which is doing like maybe if he's going spirit build like 400 damage or something before resist. And you're nerfing it pretty hard, but then you eat a Yama 1 for a K. So of course you want the Spellbreaker on the Yama 1, but the Abrams 2 eats the Spellbreaker, and then she just gets to still Yama 1 you for 1,000 damage. So yeah, I don't know how much it'll matter, to be honest. Diviner's Kevlar, 64-second cooldown to 40 seconds. So if you've got the cooldown reduction on Ultimate, you can spam this bad boy now. Inhibitor is less broken, only 30% damage penalty, little bit more damage to make up for it. Cheat Death no longer reduces move speed by -2 meters during the death immunity phase. It's been so long since I built Cheat Death outside of Street Brawl, I forgot that was even a thing. I'm gonna be real. It's been so long. I'm not a Doorman cheeser, man. I don't do any of the Sinclair Doorman super cheesy Cheat Death nonsense or Dynamo ult. Like it's been forever since I bought that item. Colossus active now grants you. Oh, we're eating so good. Active now grants you an additional 30% melee damage. In my head, this used to be a thing. Not on the active. I think Colossus once upon a time, I might just misremember. I think either came with weapon damage and melee damage or just melee damage as a base stat way back, like before the item update last year. So it's cool to see that kind of come back. When you're going big mode, you're punching hard. That's actually going to be crazy. Colossus will get a lot more relevant because of that. Because you're getting resist temporarily while you punch the shit out of them. You're generally tankier. You're slowing them. I don't remember how strong the slow is right now, unless they took that off at some point. I don't think they did. And then 30% melee damage is a ton, man. I don't think there's a single item in the game that gives you that much. Like not even the Shadow Weave, which is generally just a terrible item. Even the Shadow Weave ambush melee damage, I'm pretty sure isn't that high right now. So maybe Colossus, Shadow Weave, all the punch items, punch somebody with a single punch, One Punch Man build incoming someday soon to a theater near you, perhaps. Siphon Bullets now seals. Guys, Deadlock is over. Excuse me? All right. Hold up. Let me think. Let me get to thinking right here. Maybe this isn't as broken as I think it is. Maybe it's balanced. Maybe it's a good change. Siphon Bullets, right now, late game, I think still steals 50, right? Pretty sure it gets there. Steals around 50. If you have just a 2k health bar, which is super low, then 50 would be 4%, right? Sounds right in my head. Pretty sure? No. I can't do math for shit, can I? Would 50 be the 2.5? Why can't I think of this right now? It'd be 10% of 500. It'd be 2.5. That's the way we do math right there. Incredible. Little school session for you. So basically, Siphon Bullets just straight up got buffed. Maybe not. No, because like nobody's building it in like the first 10 minutes. So Siphon Bullets did just get buffed. Yeah, no, in my head, when I first like saw that number and was like, wait a minute, that seems insane. No, that's insane. Because if we're talking like Mo and Krill with 5,000 HP gets a bullet siphoned, probably not the right way to say that for it to make any sense, then that's potentially taking what, like 125? Yeah, like 125 HP or something like that. That's crazy, man. We're going to mess with some Siphon Bullets. That's going to be potentially disgusting. The cooldown's longer than it used to be. That's a change. They gutted this item a while back. So like this is kind of undoing that to some degree, making it make more sense as an item. But there might be a lot of potential here, especially against tankier teams. I could see getting like way more easily 1k plus Siphon Bullet fights where you're taking 1k from them and giving that to yourself. That could get insane. Mystic regen, big. Well, really not that big. Health bonus increased from 40 to 50. Duration increased. Generally just kind of sustains more, makes you tankier. We still need to remember, I got to go back and look at that new item if I can remember at some point. It's a T1. It's probably not that big of a deal. Rusted Barrel. Cool. Really? Bro, you already going to spam that shit, man. Rusted Barrel, cooldown reduced. Yay. Who doesn't love Rusted Barrel? I love when they buy Rusted Barrel, literally first item, and I don't get to shoot on my shooty hero for the entirety of the lane. Oh my God. Arcane Surge, a little bit more spirit power. When you're arcane, your surge. Slowing Hex now sets the gravity of an enemy to a fixed 20% heavier regardless of their own base values. That's going to feel weird. And the projectile speed's way faster. So it's easier to proc Slowing Hex to like reach them. So if you're trying to stop Mina from 2ing or Wraith from 2ing or something like that, and you Slowing Hex from like any sort of range where they can maybe react, it's going to be a lot harder to react in time now. But the falling faster might be like pretty trippy for trying to parkour around if you've been Slowing Hexed. Like if somebody's, I don't know, kind of lash jumping around, like the buff towers, whatever you want to call those, where you can like climb up the rope and stuff. If they're kind of parkouring around the map and they're falling faster, it might be hard to wall jump and shit. Be interesting to see if that matters much. Suppressor debuff duration increased. Okay, Suppressor was already good, made it better. Spirit Sap, more spirit power reduction. Way lower cooldown. Oh my God, Spirit Sap probably just got really good. Tell me they... I am assuming they did not. It's looking like they did not. Tell me they did not put that change through to Focus Lens. Wait, is that what it goes into right now? Or is that what it used to go into? I think that's Silence Wave, right? They made it go into Silence Wave now. Did they? Why can't I think of this right now? I haven't bought either item in a while. Anyways, Decay, a little bit more healing reduction. Silence Wave. Oh! Okay, we might actually be buying some Silence Wave. Oh my God, I've been waiting for something remotely like this. It has nearly doubled spirit scaling. This has Mystic. They just buffed Mystic Shot. This now has Mystic Shot spirit scaling of 1. So if you go like Mystic Shot, Cold Front / Arctic Blast, Silence Wave, trying to think, is there anything else you would proc? I don't know, like Tank Buster, but that's kind of different. Really big burst damage that you can put on so many heroes. If you're trying to go like Spirit Burst Assassin, that could be crazy, man. Like somebody like Mina, this just got a lot better on. Mina's maybe a weird example, but like is an example of just kind of, you know, bursty spirit hero. So, and then also reduce the cooldown a bit. Knockdown gravity increased from 50% to 100% when the stun hits the target, causes airborne targets to fall faster. So basically nerfs the like actual duration of the knockdown stun when they're in the air. So like in a way it would sound like maybe that makes it better. It actually makes it worse. Radiant regen, health bonus increased from 65 to 90. Duration increased from 5 to 6. Healing on ability cast boon scaling increased from 1.5 to 2. How much would that be? Not that much, right? Not that much in my head. Like, am I sleeping on how this works? Like, wouldn't that just be, you know, like 15 late game or whatever? I think so. I think that's not that crazy. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. I think it won't matter all that much. Tank Buster, current health bonus damage slightly buffed, 7.5% to 8%. Torment Pulse. No! No. Oh. 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 Torment Pulse, so they slightly nerfed the spirit scaling on it. So Torment Pulse got nerfed. No longer hit sleeping enemies to avoid waking them up. So it literally, based on the way it's phrased, it will not proc against sleeping enemies. I immediately, the moment I saw sleeping enemies, I was like, wait, Haze Torment Pulse cheese would be hilarious. If you could sit there and just pulse on them with Echo Shard Haze Sleep, oh my god, that'd be so good, man. Disarming Hex also reduced cooldown. Oh god. To go with the Rusted Barrel. Magic Carpet still sucks. Duration increase from 8 to 12. Not that big of a deal. Bonus health increase from 75 to 125. It's not the problem with Magic Carpet, man. It's that this item used to do a whole lot of shit, and they were like, let's remove the fun. Let's remove the fun part where you get to do a bunch of crazy shit with it. And now it just breaks all the time. E-Shift cooldown reduced. Oh boy, let's bring back E-Shift meta. Nice, this is a good change. Curse damage penalty increased. Yeah, the 8% hasn't been feeling enough. They don't have to go crazy with it, but I think making it something like 10%, 15% is going to be a better way to go. Vortex Web now has a unit target option where it will vacuum enemies around that target. Huh. I'm wondering, like, it'll auto-lock like Slowing Hex would? Because that seems insane if that's the case. But is it insane? I don't know. I guess it depends on how it deploys. That might be really insane. We'll have to see what that feels like in game. Here come the hero changes. There are so many. There are an absolutely ridiculous amount of these. Let's see what we're getting into. Abrams gets less bullet damage scaling. DPS nerfed on his one. Range nerfed on his one. Oh, finally. It's now circular rather than just in front of him, so you can hit enemies behind you. No longer increases the range with spirit power. Visual effects range changed to show larger than default radius values. Wait, what? I don't know exactly what that means. Lifesteal against heroes increased from 66% to 80%. Against non-heroes increased as well at like a similar rate. DPS spirit scaling increased by 0.1. T1 gets 1 second extra cooldown. T3 grants more radius, but again, it doesn't scale spirit radius now, which is still a pretty big deal. Slightly nerfed the DPS on the T3. The 2 got slightly nerfed to base damage, but the base damage is already terrible. The wall stunner... What? Why? What are we doing? What the hell are... Bro, what are they cooking over there? They changed the wall stun duration at base rank from 0.6 to 0.3. So let me get this straight. Abrams 2 basically sucks at level 1. You can't heavy punch off of it. You can get a light smack, and then generally the way it works in Deadlock, and based on the patch notes, this hasn't been changed in this patch, is if you light punch and then shoot, it takes fucking forever to shoot. So generally speaking, the way you want to do it is you want to shoot and then you want to light punch. But if you shoot and then light punch off Abrams 2 before you get any duration on it, then you can still get parried, which means you should just heavy punch, but that can still get parried, which means now you just get to do even less shit. Then it's just that much harder. You can still go for a light smack. I'm assuming that'll go off in time. If even that won't go off, I might freak out. Like 0.6, just it's already a bad stun, man. This is why Venator got massively, Punch Venator became a thing once they made it so the T2 and his stun made it longer than 0.6, 0.7, whatever it had been, because it was within the parry threshold. Whereas without debuff resist, you could automatically parry a Venator punch every time he 2-stunned you. So they buffed it at T2, and then you can't. So now with Abrams, like you already couldn't do that, but now you can do it even less. Just seems ridiculous. And they nerfed the spirit scaling on it, which is part of what made it decent, is you could get it to do decent damage late game. The T1 now slows 40% for 3 seconds, which I think used to be a thing at one of the ranks and felt like it didn't do much. So they're like, hey, what if we bring that back in? It does feel like they're trying to make him more of a tank, like so far with the changes, make him less of a damage dealer. And then at T2, the wall stun goes up from 0.45 to 0.8, which I am assuming in my head, like, yeah, this was 0.6 plus 0.45 to be 1.05. So now it's 0.3 plus 0.8 to 1.1. So it gets to like a similar stun duration like before. But again, this feels terrible for no reason at tier 1 or tier 0 or whatever you want to call it, just like once you have the ability. T3 cooldown went up a little bit, so it's easier to 2 more often on Abrams. And then T3 grants 1.5 weapon damage, but it's so late in the game that, like, who cares, man? I don't know. It feels super weird to me. It feels like 40% slow early game is not a big deal. The stun duration nerf is a huge deal. The weapon damage was good, no longer exists. And it just feels weird, man. Like, it just feels like he's just going to be a walking potato early game for no reason. Who put these changes through? I don't think I'm even enough of an Abrams player to be that biased. Like, I just actually play him, so I know it feels like shit. I don't need to play the game yet. I'm like, this is going to be fucking terrible. T2 on his 3 increased health, so it's like a little more worth potentially investing into. My God, I died for a second. T3 grants 20% debuff resistance. Will be interesting. And that's on top of the regen it already granted. I really want them to rework Abrams 3. I don't think it's an interesting ability. It's a passive to begin with. I already feel like Deadlock has too many passives, and it's the most boring passive in Deadlock. I don't think it's close. Shiv 3 would be if it didn't have the active component. Shiv 3 maybe still is anyways, even with the active component. Maybe that's personal bias. I don't know. I don't play Shiv that much. But, you know, take damage and then heal the damage back is like, bro, just give me a real ability, man. So at least they're adding something to make it a little more relevant of an ability, but I still hope they just rework it at some point, if I'm being real. Seismic impact is a little faster to target the location when rising. Should be nice. It says a little. It might not matter much. A little more impact damage. Now allows you to use items during it. What the fuck does that do? What? Can you Phantom Strike Seismic Impact? We might have to hop into game and test that out if I can remember. That might be crazy. Reduce the radius. Ah, yes, of course. Couldn't keep Abrams ult dog shit. We had to put it in the cat shit tier. Are you fucking kidding me, man? That's ult was already such a pain in the ass. They made it smaller. Okay, hang on. They buffed the T2. Hang on. My bad. I'm reading the rest of the changes. They nerfed it early game. They're buffing it late game. That's okay. T2 change from per hero hit plus 100 HP and 14% fire rate, which was not very good, to 0.6 second stun duration, which should be very good. Should also make it much more viable to ult on somebody than heavy punch, which before was shockingly hard to do. If you were directly on them, you could do it. You both had a weird animation time thing that slowed it down, and then also the stun was just shockingly low for being, entire Abrams ult, right? Seems like an almost Dynamo ult type ability, not quite to that extreme, but very big. Generally isn't. And then Seismic Impact T3 increases radius by 6 meters is a lot. That is like an absolutely stupid amount of range on the T3. So potentially very big reward for like team fight ulting with Abrams now. Could be really cool as you get it leveled up. Apollo fixed riposte not leaving the ground when started on the ground. Don't really know what that means. I'm assuming that's just some sort of weirdo bug. Riposte no longer triggers from trooper or neutral damage. Didn't realize it was that I remember. I assumed it didn't. That's kind of crazy that it does. That's insane. T2 flawless advantages 3 no longer increases Apollo's lunge speed. Oh, damn. It just doesn't increase in general now. So his whole 3 is going to feel different because you level that so fast. Now gets interrupted by stun and sleep. As in, like, you literally lose the cooldown, I am assuming is what that means. So that's a big deal. That's on the 3 again. His ultimate base damage reduced from 225 to 190, and spirit scaling increased from 1.6 to 2.3. So late game, this ability, see 0.7 scaling. Yeah, late game, this ability is going to be capable of doing way more, which seems super valid. A lot of the time, late game, it wasn't that exciting as far as the damage. Whereas early game, where it was broken, it's not going to be as broken. It's still going to be like really good, but it's going to be less broken for sure. Hit width no longer scales with radius increases. Oh. Like, unless I'm tripping, that's just saying, like, range no longer increases the width of the ult. It just increases the length of the ult, I think is what they're saying. Hook can now be canceled. Is that is that why the last few, I'm trying to think, maybe not literally the last time I played Bebop, a few times that I've played Bebop recently, I've tried to cancel Hook when I've hit somebody on accident, like a teammate or whatever. And I've been like, where the fuck's the cancel button, man? They'd added that in at one point. Did they take it out and add it back just now? That's funny. I didn't even realize that would make so much more sense. Billy bashdown radius reduced from 4.5 to 4 meters, a little bit. T2, there's going to be so many hero changes to go through, man. Bashdown T2 changed from 1.3 meter radius to 1 charge and 2 meter radius. So generally just giant buff to the T2. And overall, Billy 1 is feeling stronger. And then Billy T3 bashdown reduces charge time by 2 seconds. Charge time would be like time in between casting the charges. In my head for Billy, it's 8 base, I think. I think it's 8 seconds base before rapid recharge. Maybe that's in my head with what old rapid recharge was doing, and it's longer. So that's potentially a lot. That could be a pretty big deal. Not like super game breaking or anything, but that could be a pretty big deal. And then Billy Ram, which is his 2, base damage reduced by a decent bit from 55 to 40. Spirit scaling increased by 0.2. Overall, probably not feeling particularly better. You don't tend to build that much spirit on Billy. Cooldown reduced by, just straight up without upgrading it. Cooldown reduced by 50% on impact. They took that off the T1. Charge duration reduced from Oh, and it's way faster to land from 0.51 to 0.3. So it's a way faster dash. That's a big deal. That would be cool to see in game. T1 changed from, doing what it used to do because they just added that inherently to the weapon damage, 25% weapon damage for 5 seconds, which should feel really strong for a single ability point. T2 changed to, changed to plus 0.3 second charge duration. Oh, for the CC. Oh, I think that's because right? What is going on? Charge duration. So they're not meaning charges it's just 2 as 2 doesn't have charges. So they're saying either that the dash, because I don't know how it's coded, the dash either literally can dash farther and you can go duration to dash farther, which maybe was already a thing and I didn't know about it, or they're just referring to the knock-up duration. So it's either a nerf to the knock-up that then gets buffed at T2, or it's a buff to, I guess a nerf and then buff to the dash distance. I'm assuming it's referring to the knock-up. I actually don't know. Because it's kind of a weird way to phrase it for either one, So I don't know for sure. And then T3 gets a decent buff to the max health damage on it. So a little more of that tank buster impact from maxing Billy 2. Blasted Spirit Scaling reduced a decent chunk from 0.8 to 0.6. Active Duration no longer slows down the decay when doing bullet damage. What? Blasted Active Duration no longer slows down the decay when doing bullet damage. I don't think I knew this was a thing. Melee still extends it, though. I don't even comprehend what that means right now. I don't even comprehend it. I don't know. Maybe I haven't billied hard enough, recent enough. Actually, it's been a while. Blasted Passive no longer reduces enemy fire rate by 14%. Blasted Tooltip simplified. Blasted T3 now also increases Spirit Scaling by 0.6. So you'd be getting 1.2 Spirit Scaling on the Blasted Punchies in order to be yoinking more HP. Trying to picture... Potentially could be pretty crazy. That sounds really interesting, actually. Spirit Billy might be becoming a decent amount more of a thing, but the parry button exists. So I feel like it'd still be more of a thing at lower skill levels. But I'm curious. And you can mix it with Bash Down, too, because Bash Down has spirit damage. That might be fun to mess around with. Boundless Spirit, Rapid Recharge, Cold Front, Torment, Pulse Billy, 2 in, 1, 3, 1, Spam Light Melee. I don't know. Might end up being pretty good. Definitely, at least late game should be better than it is at the moment. Chain Gang Radius slightly reduced. No longer grants bullet resist / spirit resist. Increased cooldown by 25 seconds. Change the T1 to grant a ton of resist, 40% spirit and bullet resist. Change the T2 to no longer have any of those and instead have minus 50 seconds cooldown. So eventually you're getting the T1 cooldown on the T2, considering the changes, because it added 25 seconds and that had gotten removed before. So eventually gets back to what it used to be. And then T3 changed from 2 seconds unstoppable to only 1.3 seconds of unstoppable, but for each hero pulled. So generally speaking, a buff. And if you get a massive Billy ult, it is going to be a massive buff. Chain Gang T3 no longer grants plus 90 damage. Now also increases the radius by 5 meters. Wow. That's pretty crazy for Billy right there. That could be a big one. Calico bullets no longer have gravity. Okay, I'm assuming that is more of a technical change. I doubt it really matters. I don't picture having any spot in my life on Calico where I'm damn, the bullet sure, or the gravity sure pulled my bullets down right there. Now fires an additional pellet right down the center. DPS is still the same. The center pellet is now considered the primary pellet for headshots. Okay, so I'm assuming that's again a technical change where headshot booster or something was weird with it before, with the way it worked, I'm guessing. Gloom Bombs changed to the first grenade always lands in the middle. That'll be nice. Gloom Bomb's a little more reliable. Projectile sticky radius increased from 10 to 15. Cast delay reduced. Ooh, this sounds like a decent Gloom Bomb buff. T2 changed from plus 16.2 damage to plus 75 bonus damage versus barriers. Sounds terrible. Am I crazy? How often are you doing damage to barriers, man? Obviously somewhat often, but why is that? Who cares? Who fucking cares? That's so specific. I'm trying to picture, and why Calico? Somebody else, if Bebop gets extra bomb damage versus barriers, holy shit, that makes so much sense, because he, reactive barrier hard counters Bebop. Who the fuck's building barriers against Calico, man? I feel like spirit shielding doesn't make all that much sense against her, because normally you're proccing it from her ultimate. Weapon shielding doesn't make that much sense against her. Am I tripping? This seems so random. It's a cool idea in general, but I don't get why they put it on Calico one. Leaping Slash improved targeting of the dash to end early if near enemy heroes. Oh my god, that might be insane. So it sounds like you maybe still could, but generally probably can't dash past enemies, which also means expansion just got way better on Calico, because that's one of the potential downsides of building greater expansion. Normally people aren't going to care, but you can dash farther, which can then make it technically a little harder to land on somebody close to you. So that might end up being really interesting. We'll have to see. What? Oh. Sorry. Leaping slash T2 change from, it's still crazy, but from plus 40 damage to plus 300 souls on hero kill. For anybody that doesn't know, Calico is like an assassin. I'm pretty sure Calico is the one that like fucked Pocket up and like technically killed or almost killed Pocket in the lore. So giving like that Vindicta style assassinate 300 souls on hero kill with the 2 makes sense. I read this as 300 souls on hero hit, and I thought they broke the game for a second. I got a little ahead of myself. My bad. That's interesting. I don't really think... It seems like one of those things where if you happen to get it, it's good. I feel like it'd be hard to consistently get it. But now that they buffed the 2, it sounds like, and in order to make it more consistent, that could be a pretty big deal. In order to more reliably be able to land it, we'll have to feel it out. T3 changed from minus 50% cooldown on a hit to minus 50% cooldown and 60 damage. So they just straight up buffed the T3. So it's like new mechanic on the T2, and then the T2 mechanic, or not T2 mechanic, but the old T2 buff goes to the T3 and gets buffed even more. And then leaping slash radius got slightly reduced, but it sounds like they made it a more consistent ability, so it's probably fine. I think. Ava can no longer manipulate movement if meleeing while midair. I didn't even know this was a thing. I don't even know how that worked. Ava now uses health bar modifier style for duration. What? I don't know what that means either. Ava fix Ava camera not being centered around Ava. Ava melee attack. Oh, like the cat melee. Okay, I thought people were doing some sort of like viscous ult plus punch bug cheese. Okay, I see what they mean. Melee attack delay reduced from 0.4 seconds to 0 seconds. Instant melees on the cat? Again, it doesn't do damage to heroes. It's just, it's nice for boxes and stuff. Melee attack cooldown increased slightly. Melee attack now goes the way you're looking. Should be nice. Now starts at a minimum speed and grants or increases to a maximum speed over time, resetting on taking damage for Ava. So potentially cat less OP out of the ultimate. So like if you Calico 2-1 ult on somebody and then immediately 3 away at light speed, it's going to be way harder to 3 away at light speed. Sounds like a pretty big one. Now gradually recovers speed over time after taking damage rather than being slowed for the entire duration. So that could also change things a bit where you have to more consistently damage her for a little window. Ava cooldown reduced. Oh, from 45 to 30, no longer needing to get so many points in it to actually be able to spam it. Ava duration only reduced by a second. Ava T1 increased from 14 seconds to 15 seconds to kind of counteract that. I don't know if there's a point in that change overall. I'm gonna be real. Ava T2 now grants 15 health regen as well as the move speed. And then T3 changed from minus 20 second cooldown and health regen to a growing damage amp the longer you are transformed, up to 20% for 6 seconds. Oh my God. So you can now Nightmare Cat in. That is crazy, man. That is super crazy. So the 3 just generally gets buffed. The T2 becomes more valuable. And then you can 3 is Ava, light speed around the map, get a damage amp pretty quickly, similar to like Fortitude or something, but faster, and engage really hard with like 2-1, Arctic Blast, ult, reset your cooldowns, do it again. Probably don't need to. They've already died because the new damage amp on Calico T3. Oh my God. Return to Shadows now allows for some vertical flight movement during the channel. Oh God. I'm going to assume that might be mild. That might just be make it less derp, because if you do it midair, if you're like fighting on the bridge or if you get knocked up from like a Dynamo one, sometimes it's really weird where you're just like hovering around the sky. Maybe they just made it a little bit like 7 ult or something where you can kind of like slightly go up and down. I don't know. We'll have to see what that's like. Now as a new channel bar, T2 reduced the slightest bit ever. T3. Oh, okay. So they did take the damage amp off the T3 and instead basically apply it to Calico Cat T3. But they granted 350 healing instead, and it's flat, which seems weird. I'm surprised this isn't maybe a smaller number with some spirit scaling or boon scaling. So generally speaking, I feel like it's still fine though, because so often the Return to Shadows is somewhat of a finisher. And 350 is a pretty big chunk. So I'm assuming it's still fine. It's definitely a decent switch up to the way the ability plays as you get late game though. Celeste gravity reduced. Brother, really? Really? All right, Celeste is even floatier. Oh boy, by 8%. Air control acceleration reduced from 50% to 18% to 38% to 12%. Okay, so that kind of makes up for it. She's floatier but less movie. Shining Wonder bounce range reduced from 17 to 15 meters. These are the only Celeste changes. Linger duration on the ult reduced from 4.5 to 3.25. So the ult doesn't bounce quite as easy. It's easier to kind of hold it on somebody and not have to worry about being held out of the fight. Like it'll expire faster and you can get back in. She is floatier, but doesn't get to move as much like horizontally and stuff. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe this is really like the only types of changes she needs. It still feels like there's got to be more to tune here, yeah? Like maybe a big component is just, you know, I'm trying to, like, it's been a little while. Like maybe they nerfed this forever ago and I'm forgetting. You can still just proc 48% Spirit Amp off her 3 without ranking it to T3, right? Like maybe that should take a hit, but maybe it didn't. I've just forgotten about it. I haven't played her in forever. I haven't played her since around the time she came out. So many Doorman changes. Oh my God. Doorman gun now pierces through targets at 50% reduced damage. I am going to trust that that means only like enemies and not walls or anything like that. I am assuming it cannot wall bang. You don't know, never know, but sounds like if you like a little bit of the Celeste ricochet kind of, it's probably not going to feel like a ricochet. Interesting idea for his gun. Yeah, it is literally just a buff. Like it's not saying they nerfed his damage, it's just saying it gets to do that now. So could be spicy. Oh, and you know what? I hadn't even considered that. I bet the reason they're doing it is that it goes with his hadn't considered it. I've been reading this for 5 seconds, man. Is that it goes through his 1 now. So if you throw the bell at somebody, you can headshot them through the bell, do reduced damage, but still some damage, and blow the bell up all at the same time, which sounds really cool. Call bell time between charges increased from 4 to 6, so it's harder to spam. No longer has impact damage. Was 40 with 1.0 scaling. It was the weaker part of the damage. Call bell explosion damage increased, at least somewhat to make up for that. But the spirit scaling is reduced. Okay. And then T1 increased the radius. T2 no longer has impact damage, but T2 explosion damage increased and increases spirit scaling. And then T3 changed from like the most useless upgrade in all of Deadlock to +1 charge, plus 22-second lifetime. Causes the radius to continuously apply it slow. Well, hang on. Well, hang on a fucking minute here. So, like, I'm trying to picture all the cheese shenanigans, man. These last so long. Big doorbell. Don't pop it. Put it down mid. Not like mid boss, but like mid lane. Have team fight. Big bell. They walk into it. They take damage, right? No, because that'd be impact, not explosion. So it just CCs, right? I think so. Yeah. So you can kind of zone an area with Doorman T3 Bell, which is super weird. Another thing you can do, this is harder to do because of the charge time, is hypothetically you could ult somebody, won the ground, and then either wait for another one to come up the very last second and have a better chance at like double tapping a 1 on them, which before like you could do, but was a little more work basically, I would say probably. Or you could even echo shard it and go like 1 echo shard 1. And then kind of as they come out, they'll have 2 bells that you can instantly pop on them. And then you can have a third pretty soon, I think is how the timing would work out at the moment. So like there's some more shenanigans you can get into with the bell now. The impact damage to explosion damage changes. It sounds like are making it so that overall, if you're hitting really clean Doorman bells with the way it used to work, with the impact plus explosion damage, your damage is getting nerfed. But if you're just hitting the larger part, which is by far the easier part to land, your damage is definitely just getting straight up buffed. You don't have to worry about the stupid T3 that like just kind of didn't work in a way that made sense. I've played around with this. I wanted it to be good. It's so bad. So that's just been straight up reworked. The spirit scaling's gone up, but then had gone down. Yeah, I think just kind of like, I feel like it just makes more sense as an ability now. Like there's less of a crazy high skill floor. Do I mean skill floor? I shouldn't say crazy high, but the skill floor has been reduced, I would say, for the ability. I guess not even the floor. I guess it's more the ceiling. I don't know. Basically, like the skill level in order to use it consistently is a little lower now, which is fine. And then there's a little more shenanigans you get into at T3. So then Doorman door, T1 duration increased by 5 seconds. Now is a timer above the doorway. That seems like a good change. I'm assuming both sides can see it and like people other than Doorman can see it. Doorway tier 2 duration barrier increased by 4 seconds. This doorway or this duration, not duration, this barrier was already crazy. So now it lasts longer. Doorway distance scales with spirit power. So this might not read like that much because it's only 0.25. However, I am assuming that is 0.25 per meter. So that means that if you had 200 spirit power on a spirit doorman in the late game, which is very possible, that you have added 50 meters on to the door distance. So let's get like, oh my God, guys, what has Valve done? We might, if you thought the doorman doors were a problem before, you might now be getting ult 3'd from your like base guardians or something to fountain, like something crazy, or walker to fountain. Like they're probably going to need to work on this to make sure that you can't keep putting people in fountain. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Luggage cart is bigger, easier to land now. T1 change from 8-second cooldown to 60 damage. That seems pretty good. That seems like it's just straight up a buff early game. Obviously, it's slightly different, but I definitely care more about just doing burst damage than the cooldown on it. T2 increases the cast range, so you can get yeeted farther now. And then T3 change from plus cart damage and wall stun to longer wall stun and minus 15-second cooldown. And if I remember right, this starts at 30-second cooldown. So T3 is now doing 1.5 second stun, which is a little longer, and halves the cooldown of the ability from 30 to 15. But you're no longer doing as much bonus damage, but some of that bonus damage comes up front. So overall, it just seems like a buff to the ability, I would say. Fixed issues where the cart would hit a target coming out of the hotel before they were... Oh. Wait. What? Fixed issues where the cart would hit the target coming out of the hotel before they were supposed to be allowed to be hit, causing the cart to not properly drag the target. That reads weird. Do they mean it the way they wrote that? Because Doorman ult +3 has this thing where you can 3 before they properly appeared and they get like automatically pulled. So unless it's just kind of buggy, which I don't play a ton of Doorman, it's felt buggy to me in the past. Maybe it's less buggy now, but it sounds like what they're saying is they fixed it so it more often would hit the enemy. Whereas so often it seems like, bro, he said that shit a second ago and I've been pulled anyways. And it seems like it missed. I don't know. That's one we'll have to feel out, but I'm assuming that means it's even easier to ult 3 combo somebody as Doorman. Increase the cast range slightly on his ult. No longer goes on cooldown if the target dies during the cast. That's a pretty big one. Definitely happens sometimes. Fixed enemies not always landing in the correct spot on return. That's a huge one. Now supports instant cast settings. Returning guest now is a 100%. What? Returning guest now is 100% time slow, which is basically like a decaying stun that decays to 0% over 1 second. So it'll start at like basically stunned to being completely able to play the game over that 1 second. So like at 0.5 seconds, you'd be like 50% slowed in like every single way. Animations, movement, everything. That's crazy. That's a really big buff to Doorman ult and should make it that much easier to land the 3, which is maybe part of why they were talking about this up here. Hotel guest cast range. Valve, what are we doing? All right, Doorman, hotel guest cast range increased from 5 meters to 6 meters. Meanwhile, 5 lines ago, hotel guest cast range increased from 6 meters to 7 meters. Which is it? Which was it? Somebody make it make sense. I don't know. Hotel gas. I'm thinking it went up. It went up one time, both times. I don't know. They should have put these back to back, man. There should have been 5 to 6 up here, then 6 to 7 right after. Like they patched it in the patch or something. That'd be super funny. Hotel gas cost of stay damage reduced. Oh, that's a big one. I'm assuming they're going to up the scaling later. So you take less damage from staying in too long. Oh wait, no, my bad. You take less damage up front. And you take less damage checking out. Way less of a damage ability. They've halved the base damage on it. On both. On both staying too long. This went from 400 to 200. Holy shit, man. Hotel guest T1 changed from plus 2 meter cast range. Surprise, after they literally just changed the cast range. To -1 stamina and minus 25 second cooldown. Which I'm assuming the -1 stamina will be, as it should be when it applies. So it's harder to get out of the hotel. And then the cooldown is reduced. Hotel guest T2 changed from unstoppable while channeling to plus 1.5 seconds stun on failure to check out and 150 damage. Okay. So if you're speccing into Doorman ult more, then you're potentially getting, like, this is crazy. If you don't get out of the ultimate, you get farmed. Now, overall still, because the damage changed so much, it's still not hitting quite as hard as it used to because the upfront damage also got nerfed. But 1.5 seconds stun after already being CC'd out of a fight is insane. T3 changed from insane amount of cooldown to unstoppable while the hotel is occupied. That's a cool way to do it. 10-second cooldown on failure to check out. Like, I don't think that's saying it goes down 10 seconds. I think it's saying it goes to 10 seconds. Like, if you doorman ult somebody and they don't get out, you can do it again in 10 seconds. We're going to have to play. There are too many things to play around with, man. This patch notes is going to take forever. We're on D. This is such a massive patch. Oh my God. Drifter, Rend damage range reduced from 18 meters to 16 meters, which is a decent hit. Rend cooldown increased. Rend damage spirit scaling increased by quite a bit, by 0.4. Rend bonus damage is now the melee, finally, man, is now the melee range at close range. Yeah, finally. They wrote this a little bit weird, but that's what I was assuming they meant. So the melee damage portion is the close range portion. The spirit damage portion is the overall range portion, which it was the opposite before, and it made no sense, and it pissed me off when Drifter came out, which also means Spirit Drifter is way more viable now. Because the spirit scaling on Rend is a lot, but you have to be in really close proximity. So that means that items like Melee Lifesteal Spirit Strike, Life Strike, Spirit Snatch, etc., mostly those, are now harder to proc on Rend. You could proc them from crazy range before. It was kind of stupid. But now also Rend is way more consistently like high spirit damage, like poke mid-range ability or whatever. T1 bonus damage upped a decent amount. T3 changed from gain 45% bullet lifesteal against afflicted enemies for 4 seconds to close range attack now silences for 2.3. So they're taking off a ton of sustain and adding a ton of CC. Whoa. That's interesting. And keep in mind, like, that could be you 2 on somebody, you 1 somebody. Let's say it's like Wraith. Let's say you're going on Wraith. You TP and you 1 them. You're going to be landing the one from close range because you've TP'd onto them. And now you've basically silence waved them. So they can't escape. They can't turn with ult, whatever, for a decent duration. And you just get to start beaming. And then, of course, Drifter Gun's going to tend to hit really hard with how most people build it. So that's really scary. That's interesting. I think that's a good change for Drifter. Feels way more assassin playstyle punishing, way less just generally do a lot of damage and sustain a lot of damage. Stalker mark duration reduced by a second. T1 changed from extra bleed to 8% bullet resist. T2 changed from 22% fire rate for 6 seconds after ambush to plus 3 second duration and minus 8 second cooldown, which could be pretty obnoxious. And then T3 changed from plus 2 charges, plus 2 second duration. Oh, they just straight up took charges off Drifter, huh? To plus 2% bleed and minus 40% healing. So 8 second duration, 4% bleed, plus the spirit scaling on bleed. I don't know how much that matters. I think it's more so just a conceptual change. Of course, the anti-heal matters. I think the 2 itself is going to tend to feel pretty similar to how it used to as you level it, aside from the charges. But I think the damage is going to feel similar. Because the moment they put this duration on and they added this bleed, I was thinking it's like, is this going to make, sapping HP with Drifter 2 way stronger? I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's just, less potential charge cheese, more inherently good. It didn't really make sense to have charges on it before with the way it worked because you couldn't put them together. You couldn't hit like 4 2s on somebody and just bleed their entire health bar. I mean, in a way, if you took 30 seconds, you could, but that wasn't any good. So, because like you had to TP to them, it was super clunky. So it makes sense to change this. Blood Scent now grants Drifter the same amount of permanent bonus weapon damage when an isolated hero dies nearby, whether Drifter gets the assist or the kill. Uh-oh. Permanent bonus damage is reduced from 4% to 3%, but still, I would say, generally speaking, that's still going to feel like a buff, I think. I feel like I get plenty of assists on Drifter. Blood Scent, although that would maybe change with the Ren change, though. It would be way easier to assassinate people. Blood Scent T2 change from isolated kill reduces cooldowns by 15 seconds and restores 3 stamina to isolated death restores 18% missing health and restores 2 stamina. So you don't get your cooldowns. I don't know about this one. You don't get your cooldowns back, you heal. You don't restore as much stamina. I thought the old one was cool. It is death instead of kill. So like it's easier to proc. You're getting kind of a healbane type effect out of it. And like you're a vampire, so like you're sustaining. It makes some sense. I don't know. Maybe it just makes sense. I really like this one. I thought this was fun to play around. I kind of wish they like just nerfed it and kept it personally. Eternal Night, his ultimate now makes the enemies be considered as isolated. Finally. Sprint speed reduced a little bit. No longer has the 7 spirit damage proc on his autos. Slightly increased the cooldown. Duration slightly reduced. Changed, oh my god. T1 changed from having that extra spirit damage proc on autos to 10 sprint speed, which kicks in immediately. That is an insane amount of sprint speed. He's going to be booking it at you. T2 changed from minus 30-second cooldown and 3 sprint speed to minus 45-second cooldown, so just extra cooldown. And then T3 changed from 2-second duration and 1 max target to 2.5-second duration, 1 max target. So just slightly more duration on that, which makes up for the duration nerf earlier. Dynamo got very slightly more bullet damage and bullet scaling. Kinetic pulse cooldown went up by 4 seconds. Pulse damage went up by 25 base. Range reduced even more. Bro, the range sucks, man. Leave the Impregnator alone. Never mind. Give me a moment. I'll get to it. Oh my god. It's happening. The Impregnator. Kinetic pulse range reduced by 4 meters. The base damage been up 25. The cooldown's gone up 4 seconds. Fuck! Pulse range no longer increases with spirit scaling. Man. But the spirit scaling damage went up 0.4. They're playing with my heart right now, man. Changed from 35% move speed slow and minus 30% fire rate on T1 to +1 charge. I love it. Kinetic pulse T2 changed from plus bullet damage for 8 seconds, which is a ton, by the way. Plus 30%. To this makes so much more sense because Dynamo is so not a carry. Reduces enemy bullet resist by 18%, so your carries can get on it. And move speed by 30% for 4 seconds, so you're slowing them there instead of over here. And then T3 changed from 104 base damage and 1 charge to 135 base damage. And then, of course, you get the charge at T1 now and 16 meter cast range. So, no longer spirit scaling the kinetic pulse cast range. A tragedy. Truly a tragedy. But you get extra spirit scaling with the one to begin with and extra base damage. And then eventually you get 16 meters. So, the early cast range feels pretty bad, and it's just 20 meters. That's a little bit bigger than the range of stuff like Point Blank and Hunter's Aura and stuff like that, like pretty close range. So now it can go up to 32, which is a decent amount bigger. Definitely they gutted the range on the Impregnator, but the damage has gone up. It might still have a chance. And the early game with the extra charge is nice too, because Dynamo charge time isn't too long on the one. And then Quantum Entanglement no longer grants big fire rate, no longer reloads ammo. Base ability restores 1 stamina. The ally distance, which I'm assuming is just saying how close you can pull allies into your 2 with, I'm assuming, is increased by 3 meters, which is quite a bit. The range that you reach with it has gone up a meter, which I think is like how far you're teleporting, I think is what they're saying with that. T1 increased by 2 meters on the teleport range, which does mean that's what this is, because that's like, I know the level does that, makes your TP go farther. T2 no longer gives even more fire rate and instead reduces the cooldown, which seems pretty good, more supporty. And then T3 changed from cooldown and ammo to dispels. Holy shit. To dispels non-ult debuffs. For a second, I was thinking pocket ult. Non-ult debuffs for you and your allies. So, Infernus Burn. Remember when we just played Infernus and we kept melting that big Dynamo belly? Anybody remember that? Like literally, that was the last video, right? I think. Yeah, T3 entanglement means Dynamo himself or an ally that's burning just stops being burned. That is a big one. And obviously other things too, but like that's a big example right there. The 3 gets slightly more cooldown, not gonna matter too much, has a 1 second linger on allies, lets you jump while using it, you get a jump around. T1 changed from, oh my god, the T1's terrible. Did they make it decent? They made it decent, okay. Wait, yeah, they made it decent. T1 changed from 4 move speed for 8 seconds after the full channel, which feels horrendous, to the aura provides 4 move speed during the channel, and that being the aura, as the kids say nowadays, as the Valve says nowadays, should mean that your allies within the 3 move faster, which makes the ability not only just better to begin with, but also more of a support ability in the early game. T2 cooldown got buffed, and now overall you're getting more cooldown reduction in total, considering there was also a cooldown nerf up here, and it increases duration by 1 second. And then that's it. So like Dynamo Heal just got generally buffed. Dynamo Heal was already super slept on. That thing's crazy. Once you max it, it kind of sucks until you max it. But now, to be fair, now you don't need to max it quite as hard. Singularity no longer does percent max health damage at max rank. Wait, did it already? Oh, it already just had a little bit. Did it used to have that? In my head, it only existed at the T3 at some point. And I forgot that this was a thing at all, that it just did to begin with. I don't know. So they buffed the actual DPS, but took away the max health DPS. They buffed the DPS spirit scaling. It's still not crazy. Like if you get a giant dynamo, you're still doing like 1-time spirit scaling. So it's more about like the actual base damage and of course the CC itself. And then the T3 part got buffed. So they took away that early max health damage, but then added that on to the T3. Makes sense. Graves' Grasping Hands is now set up to work through proper alternate cast methods and be more responsive. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm assuming some of the cast methods were just like bugged or something. I don't think I've had to deal with that. Immobilized duration on it reduced by 0.25 seconds. Cooldown reduced by 4 seconds. T2 changed from 0.75 second immobilized duration to 90 damage and 10 meter wall length. So it's easier to land it, easier to do damage with it. And then T3 changed from wall length and cooldown to plus 1 second immobilize. So you can get to 2.25, which you could already get to before. And minus 12 second cooldown. So just kind of, I don't know, they're just slightly redistributing some of the aspects of Graves too, but overall like pretty similar ability. Oh God, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you touch it, Valve. We're getting to Haze. This is dangerous. This is dangerous right here. Spirit per boon reduced a shitload. Fuck. Already hate it. Absolute shitload. This is so much. So much spirit power has been removed from the Haze as she gets late game. Sleep dagger, sleep move speed reduced. Okay. So if they're slept, they're going to be a little more rooted now. Still not quite a root, but they can't go as far. Wake up. Fuck. Wake up delay no longer increases the spirit scaling. Fuck. What have they done? What have they done? What have they done? Double dagger Haze, man. Double dagger Haze. This is not as big of a thing as it used to be. For anybody that needs to know, look up any nap time Haze video I've done. I've probably done 5 of them. They're always a good time. At its peak, and it's still been a thing remotely recently, but not as good as it used to be. Haze sleep could basically also stun for like a second after you do damage to them when they're slept. And then in general, God, it's crazy that I'm forgetting the number on it now. They're probably about to nerf that too, you fuckers. But should scale like 2.4 times, 2.7 times, 2.9 times. I don't know, 2.6 times. Crazy spirit scaling on Haze Dagger, basically. So, something mid 2s. Crazy damage. So you could sleep dagger for a ton of damage and increase the duration that they're basically stunned as they wake up out of sleep, and eventually get like sleep them for 3 seconds, but then do damage immediately. But then the wake up time is 1 second. So it's also a 1 second stun. And then you echo shard and you do it again. So you get 2 seconds worth of stun and like 1,000 damage on sleep dagger. And you're just beaming them with haze bullets for 2 seconds while you get crazy burst damage and they sit there and take it like good little children. Crazy. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. And then it got nerfed, but it still existed. And now they're like, hey, what if we take away this broken mechanic? What do you mean? Why am I playing Deadlock if I'm not cheesing broken mechanics, man? What's the point anymore? Why am I around? I'm going to Slay the Spire too. That's it. Video's over. Video's not over. I guess. Ruined my day. Ruined it. Sleep dagger cooldown increased from 26 seconds to 30 seconds. They just don't stop. Sleep duration reduced. They just don't stop from 3 seconds to 2.75 seconds. T1 changed from removes 1 stamina to 8% bullet resist reduction. All right. I'll hear you out. on this one. T2 changed from minus 12 second cooldown and minus 60% stamina for 6 seconds. This is a thing? I don't even remember that. To minus 15 second cooldown. So kind of helping make up for the cooldown nerf it otherwise received. T3 changed from minus 12% bullet resist and minus 35% fire rate for 6 seconds on wake up to plus 0.75 seconds sleep duration, minus 50% move and dash slow for 2.5 seconds on wake up. This one's kind of interesting. This one, the sleep part shouldn't matter all that much. The slow after waking up for this long and that it's a big dash slow, that should be pretty strong. So that I could see. This T3 was like pretty terrible. So they made it less terrible for sure. Smoke bomb cooldown increased by 3 seconds. Duration, this is a good change. I'll be real. Duration spirit scaling reduced massively. You could pretty easily, if you're going a decent amount of spirit on Haze, get permanent invis uptime. So it's now going to be at least hard to do that. So that's probably good. I'm assuming if you build T3 duration like a weirdo, you can still probably do it with this change. Smoke bomb no longer has the base plus sprint speed, but the T1 sprint speed, it got increased by what used to be the base move speed on it, the base increase. T2 changed. Oh, God. What have they done? Oh, my God. What have they done? Changed the T2, which wasn't that strong, of 10% bullet lifesteal to enables 2 ability charges. So already immediately making Charge Haze more viable. But of course, what normally made it viable before was the invincibility down here. They took away the enable 2 charges and grants. It's enabled 1 charge. They changed that at some point, and I didn't catch it. I don't think this added a charge before. It made it chargeable, but I don't think this added a charge. Maybe I'm tripping. And then the 0.5 second of invincibility to dispel non-ult debuffs and grant 30% lifesteal for 5 seconds. Oh, and grants a charge. Why did they? Why didn't they just put that in there as part of the description? That's funny. So now you're spamming. You're basically fucking Victor, man. You're basically just dispel magicking whenever you feel like. Oh, Infernus is burning me? No, he isn't. Oh, Mina's trying to proc her bites on me? No, she isn't. Oh, I'm eating decay, or I'm eating shiv daggers, or I'm eating all this sorts of other shit. No, I'm not. Also, thanks for the healing, bozo. 30% lifesteal for 5 seconds times what, 4? If you have rapid recharge, I think, is what that's going to get up to. That's crazy. That's potentially pretty crazy right there. Now it's still Haze 2, so it's like the least relevant ability to upgrade, at least overall. But yeah, that's something. That's something. Fixation reduced the damage on a bit, like 10% nerf. Spirits, oh god. Spirit scaling increased from 0.37 to 0.8. You only proc this every 20 bullets, or 20 stacks, I guess I should say. Did nerf the flat base damage by 10. So if you're 200 spirit power haze, this would have been 124, which that's late game. So it's like, it should actually be balanced by then. I think that'd be 124. This would be 200. So it could get a lot better, but that's super deep in the game. It probably doesn't matter all that much. It's probably just like a conceptually good change. And then the nerf they made to T1 fixation, or just early game fixation, got added on to the T3. So overall, once you max the ability, which you do, DPS stays the same. Early game, it's a little bit worse. Bullet Dance fire rate reduced by 10%. Base ability gets 60% evasion, which you used to max it out for. That's crazy. That's a big potential buff to, well, I was going to say to Haze 3, but I don't know how often you're fighting back in general, much less early game. I don't know. Like, it's a cool change, though. It's a cool change. But I actually don't know for sure how much it'll end up mattering. We'll have to see. Bullet Dance duration spirit scaling increased, so you can make it last even longer. This was already, honestly, pretty crazy. It doesn't seem like it'd be that much. It pretty quickly gets longer from building spirit. Generally, it doesn't matter that much, though. It's such a bursty ability. You don't tend to need a ton of duration on it. Bullet Dance, and you're so slow in it. Bullet Dance bonus bullet damage reduced from 10 to 7. The T1 went up. I like this. I always love to build the T1 anyways, so it's just more incentive to do it. T2 now also adds 10% fire rate back. T3 no longer adds bullet evasion. Everybody run. Everybody fucking run. Everybody. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Ricochet Haze is so fucking back. It's so fucking back. Oh my god, metal skin. Where's my metal skin? Please, quickly, grab the metal skin. Bullet Dance T3 fires an additional target. So for anybody that doesn't know, I've talked about this, I think, literally in the most recent Haze video. Haze Bullet Dance, the big giant AoE Haze ult, where she is just shooting off bullets, it does not deal even damage. Well, I guess it sort of does even damage, but if you're hitting a single target with it, that's where it hits really hard. If you are ulting 6 targets with it, it fucking sucks. However, Ricochet, of course, because it's Ricochet, changed that quite a bit, where they're all going to be around you in your ultimate to begin with, and then you're getting Ricochet damage on the nearby enemies, and you massively up your ult damage, and you make it way more viable as an AoE thing. So if you now add a second bullet into the equation for every single shot, to begin with, that now means if you are Haze ulting 2 people, no Ricochet, if you are Haze ulting 2 people instead of 1 person, you are doing the full Haze ult damage, and that's only at T3. That's not early game. It's only at T3. No Psycho is maxing this as soon as possible, generally speaking. There's going to be more mid to late game, But still, without Ricochet, you are now doing the full damage to both rather than having it between them, which is a crazy buff. But then with Ricochet, that should mean that not only are you doing more bullet damage to begin with through the fight, but you are getting an extra Ricochet proc for every single bullet throughout that fight, which means Haze ult plus Ricochet in the late game should just have had its damage doubled. I am not fucking kidding. That should be how that works. Maybe they made some sort of weird exception and didn't talk about it, but generally speaking, the way Haze ult Ricochet works late game is she hits so hard to begin with, there's bullets spread around the team, so you're not doing as much damage to one person as you'd like, but the Ricochet makes up for it. Now instead you're doing tons of damage to 2 people, or whatever, kind of, you might be ulting more people at the same time, and then getting 2 Ricochet bounces off of that, entire team melts if they're in your ultimate. It's going to be insanity. So look forward to that. Buy your metal skin, folks. Buy your metal skin. Don't you forget about it. Infernus, napalm damage slightly reduced. Napalm damage spirit scaling increased a decent chunk. Before it was terrible, so now it's less terrible. Amplified damage taken reduced to 16%, so that's a 4% hit. Lifesteal on T2 buffed by 5%. Flame Dash DPS spirit scaling increased by 0.2. T1, oh, that's kind of a big one. T1 no longer reduces fire rate by a pretty healthy 25%, but reduces cooldown by 12 seconds. T2 reduced the DPS, but also increases trail duration by a second. T3 no longer reduces the cooldown by 15 seconds because that's basically up here. It's just not quite as strong. But also grants 1 charge. I guess it didn't do that before. It just made it chargeable. T3 time. Oh my God. T3 time between charges reduced from 20 seconds to 14 seconds. Okay, rapid recharge also got nerfed in that regard recently. Melee can now build up afterburn. It's not that good. It's not that good. If this was like 100%, I'd be losing it. You have to hit 3 heavy melees to apply afterburn. That's pretty bad. The 20% for light melee could be situationally decent, especially early game, but super situational. So yeah, basically trying to think, how long does Infernus Dash generally last? In my head, it would be like 3.5 seconds, and I could be wrong on that. So now the T2 makes it 4.5 seconds. And then the time between charges is now 14 seconds. And then rapid recharge to make it 10 seconds. So you could Arcane Surge and Duration. I'm assuming like Floor of Lava Infernus just got a pretty big buff, I think. It really hasn't been a thing for a while. It was a thing when they first added this like T3 to begin with forever ago. And was fun. And they nerfed that really hard. This is a crazy one. Afterburn T1 changed from the minus spirit damage, which sucks early game, it's so useless, to plus 14 DPS. So generally speaking, I think burn is still starting at 3 seconds. So minimum 42 bonus damage, assuming they don't have any spirit resist yet at the beginning of the game. T2 changed from plus 1 second burn duration to minus 35% spirit damage. Holy shit. T3 changed from 23 DPS, which kind of sucks, to 3 seconds max burn duration. Guys, why did I just do an Infernus video? We have to go back. This is crazy. Because this applies for superior duration too. So this should mean that with... Oh my God. Yeah. I think we need to do a Burn Infernus build. So overall, the DPS is going to be similar because they took the T3 DPS and put it on T1. So he's better early game and then still generally mostly does the same DPS overall. And then added 2 seconds of potential burn duration because they took off the 1 straight up second and added 3 max seconds. So you should be able to do 6 seconds by duration extender. That's like 8 seconds. Go crazy. Go like Magic Carpet Kevlar. That's probably getting close to like 10 seconds, right? Probably. I think it should be because like there's diminishing returns. It should be getting close to 10 seconds. So 10 second Infernus burn. I mean, yeah. And then of course, escalating exposures procking that whole time too. You can probably do. Obviously, Dispel Magic exists, but let's pretend it doesn't. Let's assume they're stupid. That's crazy. That should be fun. You do have to land extra autos to get this max duration, by the way. Saying base duration's the same, but can build up after igniting to grow 2 max burn duration, and abilities only refresh up to the base. So like you do have to shoot more bullets to get it up there. But that seems super like possible. Concussive combustion is ultimate. Now causes camera to move back a bit. The delay is increased by 0.25 seconds. The radius nerfed by a meter. The cooldown increased by 25 seconds. The damage reduced by 25. The T1 adds 100 base damage instead of cooldown, which I would say generally is a nerf, but not necessarily. I think getting this off more often is more important than the damage on it, generally speaking. Oh, they're really mixing up the order on this one. They took off the 0.5 second stun and radius, and added a ton of cooldown, 65 seconds cooldown. Holy shit. Like, they did nerf it up here. I guess overall it kind of balances out. Okay. Minus 65 seconds of cooldown, so this would take it all the way from 165 to 100, which is a big deal. And 65% explosion heal, which is going to be like similar to what the T3 used to have. So if you're landing it on a single enemy, you already have the T1, you probably have some spirit scaling going, you're probably healing like 200 HP. And if you landed on a second enemy, you're probably healing 400 HP. Pretty big deal, but you're not stunning for as long, and it's not quite as large. And then the T3 changed from bonus damage and heal, which generally felt pretty useless considering how deep in the game you were at that point, to plus 0.75 second stun and 10 meters of radius. 10 meters, man. Giant Infernus ults. So Ivy now has minus 10% gravity, bullet damage reduced. Oh my god, the bullet scaling got destroyed on Ivy. Absolutely obliterated. The original damage is almost the exact same. She gets halved scaling per boon. That's crazy. Gun Ivy in the gutter, man. Curb stomped in the gutter, dare I say. Entangling Thorns, well, Kudzu Bomb renamed to Entangling Thorns. Entangling Thorns recharge time reduced from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. That is way more spammable. Spirit scaling reduced by 0.1, which shouldn't matter as much because it's still more spammable. It's probably still overall good change. Entangling Thorns T2 changed from plus 2 seconds of duration to plus 2 meter radius and increased spirit scaling by 0.5. So way more spirit damage, all the way up to 1.05 instead of 0.65, which is what it used to be. T3 changed from plus 36 DPS and 2 meter radius to entangles enemies that remain in it for 2 seconds, which sounds like probably a root, and it lasts for 1.6 seconds. So remember when we literally just played an Ivy game, and I was like, I think this should dash low. It sucks so much. This isn't that. However, if you are going root Ivy or whatever, Kudzu Bomb Ivy, Thorn Ivy, whatever the hell you want to call it, Ivy, playing around R1, it sounds like it's maybe harder to overall land the one. Now, it shouldn't really change that much by that point. No, it should be about the same because you get the 2 meter radius on the T2. The duration has gone down a little bit, but they can just get straight up rooted in it, and you can spam it. So if they sit in it too long and get punished, they are getting obliterated. Now, we'll have to see. Maybe Entangle is not technically a root. Maybe that's something slightly different. It sounds like it would just basically be a root. It sounds like it'd be like an Immobilize. But we'll have to see. Like, maybe it's a whole unique effect. Maybe it's even got like a Thorns proc on it or something like that. I don't know. So her 2 got renamed to Kudzu Connection. They nerfed the fire rate spirit scaling by a decent amount, by like 30%, and the bullet lifesteal scaling by like 20%. They changed the T1 from 8% fire rate, God, was it this bad? That was terrible, to 2 meter move speed, which is like the good part. And they changed the T2 to kind of be the opposite. So now it's pretty good to get the T1, not as good to get the T2, where you're not getting move speed, but you're getting fire rate and bullet lifesteal, but it's only 8% of both. That's not that good. And her bullets got gutted, so it's really going to be a support ability and nowhere near as much of a her ability. Change the T3. Holy shit, man. Change the T3 from +1 tether count to ability is always active. For anyone that needs to hear it, I don't remember what the number is at right now. IV2 also shares in like buffs healing that Ivy receives. So if I'm remembering right, I think it buffs the healing she receives too. It's silly that I don't remember for sure. I'm like pretty sure that it buffs the healing she receives, but then it also shares that with whoever she's tethered to. And I want to say it's like 30-35% at the moment. So if you're going like heal booster, you're getting up pretty close to 50%. So now you can just literally always have that. So you're getting extra move speed, you're getting extra stats, and you're just generally healing an absolutely stupid amount, and you just don't have to think about it. That seems pretty crazy. That seems like it's got a lot of potential, is support Ivy, just constantly doing whatever the hell she wants. My God. Her 3, or wait, never mind, I'm reading wrong. Or got 3 seconds added cooldown. Gutted the spirit scaling, almost halved the spirit scaling. Changed the T1 upgrade from being super OP to just 7% max health heal, which isn't as OP. Changed the T2 from being super OP to having way reduced cooldown. I'll say what it actually is. It used to be minus 19 second cooldown, which basically halves the cooldown. Now it's just a 7% max health heal. The cooldown was way better. The T2 used to, like, in my head, almost double the base damage and add 0.5 seconds of stun, which is crazy. Now it's 25 seconds of cooldown, which is crazy in a different way. So it's less of a CC, but it is a huge cooldown reduction. It's more than having the cooldown. And then T3 changed from 13% max HP heal, which was like fine, but a lot of the time not worth the point investment, to plus 1 second stun, which is a ton, and increased spirit scaling. And it says 2.0. And I don't know if that means that it goes to 2.0 or if that goes up 2.0 to 2.8. If it goes to 2.8, holy shit, is Echo Shard Stone Form Ivy gonna be swinging? That's potentially insane. That's yet another one that I will have to check, and we'll probably not have time by the end of the video because I'll forget like every change that's happened because every single hero is getting too goddamn many. And I can't possibly keep track. We can't look in game for any of this, man. There's too many things. It's gonna be a 2-hour video. It's insane. How is my voice still going? I gotta be somewhere tonight, man. I gotta talk for hours tonight. I have a social life to attend to. Fuck. Moving on. Moving on. Airdrop cast time removed. What? Oh, I thought they made it so you could just stay in the air until the end of time. My bad. So you no longer have a cast time 2 ult, but if you take damage, the ability will be unusable for 3.5 seconds. Okay. It's also not saying from a hero. So I think if you ult on a camp or like a minion wave, that might take it too. We'd have to see. Maybe they just didn't bother mentioning that. Airdrop spirit damage scaling reduced from 2.3 to 1.0, obliterated. Cooldown reduced from 100 seconds to 65 seconds, so you can spam it way more. It gets 5 extra seconds of duration, so you can stay in the air longer. The base speed and max speed, base speed got nerfed by 1 meter a second. Max speed got buffed by 4 meters a second, so she's faster through the sky. Bomb radius increased by 6 meters from 14 to 20. The buff duration. What is that, just the barrier? Am I forgetting something else? The buff duration is reduced by 4 seconds. I think that's probably not a big deal. I can't think what that is right now. Ally cast range, which I think is just how far you can pick an ally up from, has been increased by 4 meters. Airdrop now grants you and your ally plus 20% outgoing damage after dropping. It doesn't say how long, so I don't know for sure how crazy it is. I would guess like 5 seconds. Could be pretty crazy for initiating. Going, and that's just base. That's not after an upgrade. So you can pick an ally up, drop them in, Ivy 1, Ivy Stone form, do bigger damage yourself. They can do a ton. That's interesting. Airdrop bomb no longer has a fast explode expanding behavior. Airdrop bomb no longer causes a knockup. I don't know what the fast explode means. I don't know if that means that it's like just actually, I don't know. I can't possibly comprehend what it's saying. They're writing it so weird. I can't tell if they're saying it's slower, if it just hits different to begin with, if it's all detonating at once now. I understand the no longer causes a knockup part. That part's simple. And then I also read ahead, airdrop bomb no longer slows on explode by, oh, okay, they mean the CC. That makes sense too. Slows on explode by default. No longer provides barrier by default. The T1 got changed to no longer shred bullet resist, and instead grants you and an ally 300 barrier plus 1-time spirit scaling, which is pretty good. That's a single ability point, last 12 seconds. So like they took that off of the original ult, but then like it's pretty worth the investment. Change the T2 from plus 200 barrier and 5 meter explode radius to explode applies 50% slow for 3 seconds. Probably decent switch to the ability. I don't know how much it'd necessarily be a buff. I think it'd definitely be very situational. And then T3 increases damage scaling by plus 1.5, which is going to be 1.5 spirit scaling, which pretty much just puts it back where it used to be. It's slightly higher. And then barrier scaling by 1.0. And then, unless I missed something somewhere, it no longer silence. Oh, now also. Okay, so it does still silence. They just buffed the shit out of the T3. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, if they took off the silence, that's a pretty big hit. But no, they didn't. So on to Kelvin. Yeah, we still have a lot to go. Bro, is this a 3-hour patch? Please. Please, man. I need to get this video up today. I actually, it's so far away that I have to be out of the house, and I'm starting to actually worry anyways. That's insanity. I have a Slay the Spire video I need to get up, man, on the other channel. Oh my god. Kelvin Frost Grenade now impacts on Ice Path. Didn't even know it couldn't do that before. That's cool. Radius reduced a little bit. Cooldown increased from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. The grenade now comes with 2 charges. The grenade now heals in the base ability 60 plus 0.9 spirit scaling. About time, man. So, for one thing, giant Frostnade buff. It comes with 2 charges. Based on the way they're wording that, I'm assuming it's not 2 additional. I'm assuming it's 2 total. Heal in the base ability 60 plus 0.9 spirit scaling means pretty quickly you're doing a decent bit of healing and can just use it as a heal for you and your ally in lane. No longer has stamina regen reduction. Who fucking cares? T1 changed from +1 charge, because they already added that to the ability to begin with, to increase damage and heal +30, which is pretty big. T2 changed from providing the healing and the scaling to freezes stamina regen. Okay. I guess they put that back somewhere. Freezes, I'm assuming, is minus 100%. It doesn't say for how long. I'm assuming like 3 or 4 seconds. It's just, you still have stamina. It just freezes the regen, so it might not matter that much. And minus 10-second cooldown. So it's more spammable. But they'd already nerfed the shit out of the cooldown earlier from up here, from 20 to 30. So it's going back down to 20. And then T3 changed from a stupid amount of damage and minus stamina regen to increases damage and heal spirit scaling by 1.0 and radius by 2. So to begin with, the ability no longer has very much base damage on it, even when it's maxed. But if you're going heavy enough into spirit, the nade should eventually be capable of doing decent damage. It'll take a while. And then the healing should get even better, which makes a lot of sense because it's Kelvin. So seems like a good change to me. Ice Path can now be canceled on ability button press instead of space. Seems like a good change. I feel like it was silly the way it was before. Ice Path cooldown increased by 4 seconds. Incline, decline speed increased. Ice Path T1 changed from +4 sprint to +2 move speed in general. That's a big one. So getting slowed by getting shot is no longer quite as big of a deal because instead of sprint, it's just move speed. And then plus 35% bullet resist, similarly, is a big deal. T2 Ice Path gets a little bit extra cooldown on it to make up for the cooldown nerf. And then T3 just straight up grants 35% spirit power while on Ice Path. They didn't say that they changed it. So that might go with the spirit power buildup. So I don't know for sure. There is a chance that Kelvin Ice Path at T3, because they buffed this recently, unless I'm misremembering, can now provide you eventually 90 spirit power and 35% spirit power while on the path at the same time, which makes it like super mega, super duper fucking party pooper Boundless Spirit that could then go with Boundless Spirit. Kelvin is the spirit god, if that's the case. I'm really curious if they left that on or if they forgot to add that to the patch notes to make it make more sense, because it makes sense to replace it with the 35% while on the Ice Path. Like, that makes sense. So it could just be replacing it, but it just says now grants, so I think it might be both. I don't know. Visual clarity improved on Arctic Beam is 3. You can now cast grenade and items while using the 3. That's pretty big. That makes the 3 way more usable. You could already use the 2 during it. Fire rate reduction reduced by a lot, 35% to 20% on the 3. Max slow reduced also by a lot, from 40% to 20%. So they gutted the CC on it. Spirit scaling reduced to almost half of what it was, 0.8 to 0.5. Cooldown increased by 3 seconds. T1 got changed from 7-second cooldown reduction to increase move slow and fire rate reduction by 25%. So basically getting it back not only to the base stats that it had before, but a little higher at T1. T2 is instead of plus 33 DPS, plus 20 DPS, and then plus 0.6 spirit scaling. So again, upping the damage compared to before, at least as far as scaling. And then T3 now also reduces the cooldown by 13 seconds. And then also the T3 already used to make it like AoE basically, where it would bounce off, it kind of ricochet. So like it'd bounce off the first target, did multiple targets in the area. So it still does that, but it also comes with a ton of cooldown on it. So what is the cooldown? I guess it doesn't say here. I'm assuming, oh wait, no, it does. 28. They upped it a little bit. So it turns it down to 15-second cooldown. So then Frozen Shelter can be canceled first without canceling Ice Beam. Low quality of life change. It's now 8-meter unit target. Creates the dome around the center of both heroes. Oh, you can self-cast it around yourself, or you can cast it. That's weird. Okay. So basically you get a little more flexibility to potentially get more people in it or center it better. 8 meters is a decent chunk. It's not crazy. I would assume, but not sure, that you could cast this on, I don't know about minions, but enemy heroes and ally heroes. So you could cast it on an ally hero that's maybe a little closer to the rest of your team or closer to an enemy to kind of better cage, like you'll still be in it because it's going to be bigger than the 8 meters. but better cage like an enemy in or more allies in. And then I'm assuming also put it on an enemy to better make sure that the enemy's actually going to get hit by it to begin with. Or like more of the enemy team. That's an interesting change. They took away 1/4 of a second on the duration. They changed the T1 from minus fire rate to minus 25 second cooldown. They added 5 seconds or 0.5 seconds of duration to the T2. And then T3, as has been a theme with some of these ability changes, now also dispels non-ult debuffs on cast, affecting you and allies. Of course, not enemies. That'd be stupid. It does not help the enemies, believe it or not. Ladygeist. Oh boy. We're getting somewhere, maybe, hopefully, probably. Essence Bomb. Oh, please be a change that I like. Essence Bomb self-damage change from 30 plus 1.8 scaling to 30% of the damage. Okay, no, I actually fucking love that. That's great. That's great. Self-Bomb is capable of hurting you more than you hurt them. So that is a great change. Yeah, so base is 90 plus 1.2 scaling. So basically, Self-Bomb no longer is capable of hurting you more than you hurt them. That is massive. That is a very big Geist buff right there. Makes Spirit Geist much more viable. Still, the damage you take goes up as you're dealing more, but you're not like just destroying your health bar, incredibly forced to build Spirit Resist. They nerfed the one radius by 2 meters. Cooldown reduced by the tiniest little bit. T1 gets slightly more cooldown reduction. T2 gets 2 meter radius, which I think used to be a thing on T1, so they're swapping that around a little bit again. Life drain cooldown goes up 4 seconds. Break range reduced by 2 meters. These all sound pretty simple for the most part. Slightly more DPS on T1 drain. Half second extra duration on T2 drain. Yeah. T3 charges increased by 1 and spirit scaling increased. And that's 0.3 per second. So 1-ish spirit scaling per 2. Because I want to say the base duration on the 2. I guess they also upped it a little bit now. I think the duration now should be like, shit, what is it? Maybe 5? They might have upped, it might have been to 4.5 and now it goes to 5 for the duration on the 2. So the spirit scaling could be capable of doing 1.5, I think, extra spirit scaling per enemy hit with your 2. That's a lot of potential for Geist Siphon. That could end up being big. And then also just a whole extra charge too. So if you're like AoEing, if you're really continuing to focus one person, whatever it may be, that's very nice for her. Reduce the cast time on her ult, which is already pretty short, but they halved it from 0.2 to 0.1. The post-cast hold time, which I think is just kind of the root animation, basically is what they're referring to, from 0.7 to 0.2. So it should be way quicker to play around as Geist. You're not nearly as like rooted in place, kind of stuck doing whatever you're doing. T1 cooldown increased massively. Oh my God, from minus 35 to minus 60. So you can spam it way more often from that one upgrade. T2 change from on cast plus 35%. Oh God. From on. Oh my God. Oh my God. They brought it back. They brought it back. This is crazy. From on cast 35% fire rate, which just kind of objectively sucks on her. Because even if you're going Gungeist, having to ult for a giant Gungeist buff is so inconsistent. It's just really bad. To silences enemies within 25 meters. That is massive. That is nearly double like the range of like point blank Hunter's Aura around the enemy, which is going to be right on top of you for 3 seconds. So that's like giant AoE silence wave. That's crazy. And that's at T2. So that's pretty easy to get. And then T3 changed from silencing enemies within 25 meters, which is what it did before, but it was just so terrible objectively to spend that many points on Siphon, or not Siphon, on Exchange, her ultimate. So to now on cast plus 60 spirit power, plus 40% fire rate, and plus 50% spirit resist for 8 seconds. Still, like, probably not remotely what you want to max. Still probably want to max every other ability first on most builds at least. But the T2 change is a big one right there. Lash increased sparkles. So fucking based. My devs. I know Yoshi did that one. Fixed ground strike against players brought down from midair not doing damage. Incredible, if that's actually true. Grapple T2 weapon damage increased from plus 6 to plus 7. T3 change from plus 20% fire. Oh my God, that's crazy. From plus 20% fire rate, which was like the most useless. I don't remember who I shit on earlier for having a useless T3. This was the most useless T3 in the game. It was absolutely terrible. So bad. To plus 60% air control and 1 stamina on usage. That's crazy. Lash is gonna be Lash will finally be full on Spider-Man if you go T3 grapple. That's sick. We're gonna have to try that out at some point. Cooldown on Flog goes up 2 seconds. Attack angle no longer increases with spirit power, so you have to actually aim it a little more. At least late game. Flog heal versus heroes reduced by 10%. T2 increased from minus 12 second cooldown to minus 16 second cooldown. So overall a little more spammable because they buffed it or they nerfed it a little bit earlier. T2 now also reduces fire rate by 30%. T3 no longer does. T3 damage slightly reduced. And then T3 increases attack angle by 40 and heal by 20%, which does seem good for like AoE since they took that off. Makes the T3 more important as like a sustainability, but probably overall not feeling as valuable as it used to be, I think. I don't know, maybe I'm being dumb about it. No, I guess it's still like I guess it's more valuable than it used to be in a way. Yeah, I don't know. In my head, that was feeling weird. I think it's mostly because I was so caught up on grapple T3 being crazy now. No, I guess it's still like, it's definitely still very, you know, they didn't take the damage off the T3, so it's still like very viable to max out Flog. But it does hurt a lot early game that you're no longer getting as much out of it. So fixed Death Slam, camera sometimes being obstructed. Throw distance no longer scales with Spirit Power. That's actually a really big one for Death Slam. Death Slam cooldown very slightly increased. T1 throw distance increased by 4 meters. T2 cooldown increased or reduced. How do I say this? You get more cooldown out of the T2 by 15 seconds. And T3 also increases cast range. Cast range. I was thinking that'd be throw range. Cast range by plus 10 meters. Which I'm actually not sure what it is right now, but that sounds like it should be pretty big. Yeah, Lash is going to be getting big ults. He is not going to be yeeting you across the entire map. Very different. The ability should actually feel very different based on that. It's going to very much be like pick him up, throw him down, and not pick him up, yeet him into a different dimension. Yeah, that's actually a really big change. McGinnis, stamina speed bucket, 3-2. What in the fuck does that mean? Is that how they refer to the heroes that have slower or faster dash times? So she got changed from a slow one to a more medium one? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. I have no idea what else it would be. Also, it could be the reverse order. It could be the opposite. I'm assuming 3 would be slow, though. She makes sense to be slow. Bullet damage reduced from 6.7 plus 0.2 per boon to 6 plus 0.16 per boon. So decent gun nerf. Turret duration increased from 24 seconds to 35 seconds. That's a lot. Base health and health regrowth or health growth reduced by 40%. Initial fading resist start value increased from 60% to 80%. I don't know exactly what that means. They now have 35% melee resist. Tracking angle and projectile speeds on the turret significantly improved. On the minimap, they now flash/turn red when they're attacking. That's cool. Turret T1 changed from turret supply 25% slow to plus 10 meter attack range, plus 10 DPS. T2 changed from plus 10 meter attack range and 10% fire rate to plus 2 charges. Oh boy. And then T3 changed from plus 38 turret DPS and 14 second lifetime to 30% fire rate and 12 second lifetime. So turrets last way longer. They have way more charges. They don't slow ever. They're easier to kill. So they're capable of being more of a DPS menace. They're less CC. They're less difficult to deal with as far as just simply killing them by quite a bit. Not 100% sure it'll end up feeling good, but it'll definitely be like a decent change to her. It'll shift her up quite a bit as far as turrets. Her 2 no longer scales duration with Spirit Power or radius with Spirit Power. The regen scales with Spirit Power about fucking time. It's crazy that it didn't by 0.3. I actually don't remember how long it lasts to begin with because so much of it was about scaling radius and duration through Spirit Power. So I don't know how much overall healing that is, but it's crazy it took that long to get it. It was so weird the way they had it balanced. Slightly nerfed the cooldown, no longer provides stamina recovery. The T1, instead of 30% fire rate, that's big for her too. That used to be insane for making her turret shoot fast and her shoot fast. It adds 40% spirit resist, and now it's like kind of bunker down, defend against the Lash, the Geist, whatever, against abilities. T2 increased from 17 second cooldown to 20 seconds. Also increases stamina recovery by 100%. So if you're in the heal, you get stamina really fast. T3 regen reduced from 2.5% max HP to 2%, which with the spirit scaling should matter less anyways, and that makes sense that they changed that. Also increases radius by 3 meters, also increases duration by a second. The spectral wall that is mid-cast will now... What? If her 3 is mid-cast, it will now fire when you are interrupted rather than continue to expand outward. Okay, so it'll just like cancel her wall early if you get like stunned while 3ing or something. The segments can now be destroyed with 2 heavy melee hits, which destroys an individual segment. I can't picture based on how it's cast how many segments there'd technically be. So you can punch through McGinnis Wall now if you desperately need out. The min range has been reduced by a meter, so you can cast it a little closer to yourself, either to cut them off or cut them in, whatever it may be. Applies its slow to enemies it passes through while being summoned. That could be a big one. So if you're summoning the wall and it's way behind at least some of their teammates, I don't remember how big the slow is, but you can slow people along the way. That's cool. You get kind of like an earthquake type thing. T1 no longer drains the stamina. T1 damage amp goes up 5%. T2 increases wall duration now by 2 seconds. And T3 changes from 0.75 seconds stun on impact to create 2 turrets for 8 seconds and increases slow by 30%. Creates them on the side facing you spread along the wall. Creates them on... Is that English? Creates them on the side facing you spread along the wall. Creates them on the side facing you spread along the wall. Creates them on the side facing... Am I fucking reading that wrong? I feel like I'm having a stroke. I feel like it doesn't make sense. I'm assuming what they mean is like the side you... Is it like the side you impacted? I think that's what it's saying. I think it's the side you impacted. Probably otherwise it's on the inside. Yeah, I feel like it reads weird as fuck and literally doesn't make sense. But I'm assuming it's if you impacted them, it's on whichever side you impacted. If you didn't impact, it's on the inside is probably how that works. I don't know. Her ultimate now lasts way less time, 13 seconds to 8 seconds. The range has been reduced from 9 meters to 8.5 meters, which would be... Wait, is that the range? I don't know if they mean the... I think it is the actual... No, because you can shoot way farther. That's got to be the radius. Because you can shoot McGinnis Ult way farther than 9 fucking meters. Oh, minimum range. My bad. I've missed a word. You can shoot it slightly closer to yourself. That part does make sense. T1 tooltip updated to clarify that it reduces dash distance. Move slow reduced by 10%. Dash slow increased by 10%. Love it. Love dash slows. Slow duration reduced by half a second. Cooldown increased slightly by 10 seconds on the T2. And it increases duration by 6 seconds, which basically makes up for the duration they took off. Slightly improves the duration they took off. T3 damage increased by 4, which isn't all that much. Spirit scaling increased by 0.05. And also increases the explosion radius, which I'm assuming just means the general rocket barrage radius by 2 meters. Not all that crazy. As far as ult changes for McGinnis, not too big of a deal. Mina, stamina cooldown increased by 0.3 seconds. Is a decent hit to a very stamina-reliant hero. Rate cooldown increased by 6 seconds. Hero hit missing health damage increased by 2% on Rake. Heal per kill reduced by 5 flat. Reduced spirit scaling on it by 0.13. Change the T1 from plus 20 heal per kill to plus 60 damage, so you can hit way harder with it early now, but the cooldown is way longer. T2 change from plus 54 damage and 1.0 heal per kill spirit scaling to 30 heal per kill and minus 8 second cooldown. So potentially gutting a lot of her more mid to late game healing, no longer giving so much spirit scaling on the one from like doing it. It's normally not from heroes. It's normally from camps and minion waves, but way harder to scale that. Like the 1.0 was, let's say you're super late game. Let's say you're at 200. Then, you hit a 3 camp, you can get like 600 healing. It can get crazy. So now you would get 90. That's a massive difference. If you want to have that, if you want to make it 100, that'd be 300 to 90. Still a massive difference. So big hit to her sustain. But she does also get more cooldown on the Rake that more than makes up for the nerf they gave it earlier. And then T3 also provides 1.2 heal per kill spirit scaling. So if you want that big sustain, you have to commit to it way harder, which seems cool. Sanguine Retreat, which is her 2. Cast range reduced by a meter. Recast window increased by half a second. T1 changed from plus cast range of 3 meters to 20% fire rate and 8 bullets. Oh, that is scary. That really early in the game could be a big deal because that was basically your T2 before. T2 changed from basically that, it was slightly stronger, to minus 10 second cooldown. Oh, God. What? Of course it's not a Mina nerf. What the fuck am I thinking? Of course it couldn't be a Mina nerf. Why would it possibly be a Mina nerf? Sorry, let me finish. To minus 10 second cooldown on the T2. On the T2. You no longer need the T3, the T2. That's all you need in order for Mina to, the T2. Sorry, I was getting too amused by like how fucking repetitive that was. Sanguine Retreat T3 changed from minus 12 second cooldown to the T2 to plus 1 recast. So you can Mina 2-3 times rather than the 2 times. Yeah. So you can now upgrade Mina 2 a little bit. Like it does have less range, to be fair. That's an easy one to forget about. I was forgetting that they reduced the cast range originally and then they took the cast range off the one. So it's way more of a dodge ability, way less of a movement ability, to be fair. But yeah, way more spammable, way more potential immunity. Holy shit. Holy shit, man. And if we do some quick maths, this could have been 13 times 2 before, and now it can be 9 times, I don't know why I was going to say 7, 9 times 3, which overall can cover like 1 meter extra distance. So if you fully max it, you technically miss out on a little bit of cooldown, very slight bit of cooldown, but you get the cooldown earlier, and then you can still move slightly farther. It just takes 3 casts instead of 2. Yeah, that seems crazy for Mina too. Love Bite's cooldown, oh thank God, increased from 8 to 10. Can't wait for them to undo that from leveling it. Love Bite's damage reduced from 6 to 4, which would be the base damage on the bullet, not the actual big proc. Base damage spirit, or Bite's damage spirit scaling, I guess that's also on the bullets, from 0.06 to 0.09, so the spirit scaling is way higher on the bullets themselves. Bonus damage reduced by 10 flat. Spirit scaling increased by 0.25, so even bigger spirit scaling procs. They were already pretty big. T1 changed from plus 4 meter a second move speed for 3 seconds to on proc 30% slow for 3 seconds, which is interesting. I feel like that's pretty fitting. Less about making her speedy, more about slowing them down, easier to lock down a target. T2 damage bonus just got nerfed a little bit. So slightly less damage on your bites, slightly less damage on the burst damage. Pretty small nerf overall, and partially just undoing the buff that it received earlier, slash I guess nerf. And then T3 changed from on proc -1 stamina and 30% slow to -4 second cooldown, sure enough, undoing what it was earlier, and on proc plus 25% fire rate for 5 seconds. To be fair, it's a T3. That feels fine. If T3 Mina Bites gets to proc every 6 seconds, I think that's okay. I can survive that. If it was every 2 seconds, I'd lose my shit. But like every 6 seconds, sure. That's not that crazy. Nox Nostra cooldown increased by 15 seconds. Damage very slightly reduced. T1 damage very slightly buffed. T2 cooldown extra 15 seconds to make up for the cooldown nerf that it received earlier. How long left we got, man? My God. We're not that far. We're not that far. Got a decent amount left. 2.5 hour video. Here we go, baby. Here we go. Mirage bullet damage reduced from 15.2 plus 0.5 to 14.8 plus 0.3. Fire Scarabs no longer have a limited duration to launch each one. Functions as a normal charged ability. What the fuck does that mean? What? So the way, like, I know how Scarabs work, but I'm trying to process what they mean by this. Because with the way Scarabs work, it's weird. It's a charged ability, but it's very different from other charged abilities where... What? Like, basically, you have a limited time to just kind of spam them all. And then it's got a very long cooldown. If it no longer has a limited duration... Oh! Wait. No, I think I get it. Okay, so I think... I should have just read on, honestly. It probably explains it better later on. I think the way it's going to work is basically the total Scarab cooldown is going to stay the same. I was having trouble processing it because if you treat each one as a charge, you're getting the most absurd cooldown of all time because it's like a 40-second cooldown ability originally, and then that'd be 40 seconds per single Scarab, which would absolutely suck ass. I'm assuming it's now... It used to be like... I tested this a ton in like offline practice. It literally felt buggy as an ability. It was so fucking weird. No pun intended. Where if you built like no cooldown, you could get shit where like you'd cast your one, you'd have no cooldown toggled, and you'd still have a 1 cooldown because it was kind of such a funky, weird ability where in a way it kind of procced, like, what's an example I could use? Like Abrams one or something that's like an active channel. It kind of had a channel aspect to the ability outside of the charges. So the cooldown worked a lot different. So I think it no longer has that. You can just cast Scarabs at will based on the charges available. And I'm assuming the cooldown now just makes more sense and kind of fits in between. And you probably get a Scarab back every 7 seconds or so, and you can just use it as you want to. I'm guessing. I can maybe read later on, and maybe it'll make more sense. Yeah, probably a good change, though. Collision and model size increased a little bit. Base charges reduced from 4 to 2. Spirit scaling reduced by 0.2. Now immediately steals the health, like it used to, by the way. I actually really liked the change of it becoming a sap. So... rest in peace. I really love that shit. Max health steal increased from 45 to 70. That might be crazy. You immediately steal it and they upped it? Fire Scarabs changed from minus 8% damage bullet or minus 8% bullet resist to plus 10% damage amp on that target from any damage you steal. What? Oh, you deal. My bad. I just literally read that wrong. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? So plus 10% damage amp in general too, not bullet amp. Fire Scarab's cooldown increased by 5 seconds. T1 changed from minus 15 second cooldown to 50 max health steal. Oh my god. T2 changed from minus 8% bullet resist to plus 2 charges to get back to 4 charges. T3 changed from plus 63 max health steal to plus 10% damage amp, which is even more, so it'd be 20% damage amp, and 1.2 spirit scaling. So like Boundless Spirit, Spirit Mirage, going a Mark build, 70 times 2, I think with 200 spirit power, could steal 470 HP in a moment. So if you land, even ignoring rapid recharge, which now seems more viable, it used to be fucking terrible, it now seems more viable. If you ignore rapid recharge, just from leveling your 1 and going like a heavy spirit build, getting late game, you should be able to steal like 1800 HP. Steal. Not give to yourself, steal. And then Siphon Bullets got changed this patch too. Let's go peek at Siphon Bullets. That might be absolutely insane, my god. I'm scared. But I like Mirage Hellsteel build, so I'm also excited. I don't know. Fire Scarabs no longer has reduced effect against non-heroes. That's a big one too. You can use it on minions more casually again. Tornado renamed to Dust Devil. Dust Devil lift duration reduced an insane amount by 0.6 seconds from 1 to 0.4. Spirit scaling reduced a ton by 0.7 to 0.3. It now slows affected enemies by 30% for 3 seconds. The bullet evasion duration goes up 0.5 seconds. The bullet evasion goes up 5%. T1 changed from plus 0.4 second lift duration to plus 60 damage. T2 changed from minus 14 second cooldown to minus 8 second cooldown and plus 30% evasion. So 60% bullet evasion. The gun trading god. And then T3 changed from plus 20% bullet. That's not... What the fuck? What did it used to be? That doesn't mean anything. I don't remember what that used to be. That's really funny. I have no clue. Can recast with what? To recast within 5 seconds, increase spirit scaling by 1. So you can get 1.3 times. To be fair, the lift got gutted. It's way more of a slow movement immunity frame ability now, and way less of a CC. But you can now double cast it. Whoa. So huge movement, potentially more damage, potentially more immunity frames. And for 5 seconds, you can recast it. That's pretty crazy. No! Mark cooldown increased. Fuck. You're telling me you don't need to just make him incredibly broken on Mark? Increase from 2.6 to 3 seconds. It's harder to build Mark. Multiplier duration increased from 4.5 to 5. Reveal duration increased from 3 to 6. Tooltip rewritten to be based on a per stack basis. A stack increases damage by 200%. Just a tooltip change. T1 changed from 60% slow for 0.5 seconds on 2 times stack to fading 60% slow for 0.5 seconds. Okay. So they like slightly nerfed it, even though it was already pretty bad, I guess. Okay. Mark T2 increased from 8.1 damage to plus 20. So the cooldown got nerfed, but holy shit, did the T2 damage go up. But the spirit scaling is also pretty good. So that's like early game, that should be a pretty big deal. Outside of that, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Like late game, it shouldn't be like game breaking or anything. Oh, and then to make up partially for the cooldown nerf, T3 cooldown increased from 0.75 to -1. And then T3, it now also stuns for 0.5 seconds at max stacks. While it'd be easy to be like, oh my god, I actually don't think that's that big of a deal. It's at max stacks. If it was every time you multiplied, that'd be unbelievably OP. If it's only at max stacks, which takes so much work, and it's just 0.5 seconds, I guess, sure, that's fine. I think we can allow it. Everybody calm down. It'll be okay. Traveler cooldown reduced by 10 seconds. That's his ultimate. Can now be cast on the zip line. That's cool. It no longer travels, or no longer channels. It now has a 3-second delay before teleporting. Taking damage interrupts the ability and puts it on cooldown for 6 seconds. So that's similar to Ivy ult that we saw earlier. They made that change to it. That's cool. Traveler now targets location on the minimap. So you can't like ult out of a bad situation, basically. Now targets location on the minimap rather than units. Oh, and places you at the ground level of that location. So you straight up do not get to locate units. You do not get to teleport to a teammate, to your walker, to your fountain, whatever it may be, to an enemy. You're just straight up going on the mini map and picking a spot. That's really cool. That's really cool. If you get a tunnel, you're fucked. Hopefully you cannot accidentally teleport into like the REM tunnels. I meant even just the underground like shop tunnels and stuff, unless you mean two. Yeah, that's really sick. No longer grants move speed or fire rate. T1 changed from move speed and 35-second cooldown to more move speed for 12 seconds. So less cooldown, but you're faster for a while. T2 changed from granting traveler buffs to ally to 400 barrier for 12 seconds. And then T3 changed from unstoppable for 3 seconds to minus 80-second cooldown. So you can spam it way more. And he's way more of a like rotational menace in the late game. Interesting. Scorn damage, which is Mo 1, reduced by 6. Radius reduced by 1. Spirit scaling increased a shitload, 0.42 to 0.7. Oh, baby, Mo is eating good. T1 ups the damage by 35 flat, but no longer has the reduced cooldown, which is also still Mo eating good. Oh my god, they've done it. Sorry, I got out of myself. T2 on Scorn no longer is plus 21 damage, but is instead minus 5-second cooldown and plus 1 meter radius. So that fixes the radius nerf earlier. That makes it even more spammable of an ability. He has more spirit scaling in general. The flat damage or the base damage overall goes up. This is already such a good ability to level early game. So Mo 1 feeling way stronger as you level it early on. Burrow lets you enter the tunnels. It's about fucking time. Another hero has gotten into the tunnels. For Mo, it'll be tricky because there's no way you're exiting the tunnels other than burrowing. So, and there's certain spots that are so vertical. I've wanted for a while for this to be a thing. I don't think it's coming anytime soon. I think eventually we'll probably get it because I think it's sick. I really want Mo 2 to go up walls. And there are parts of the tunnels where, like, yeah, you can enter, you can exit, but there are parts where you can fall down like a hole and not climb back up. There are parts where, similarly, you could, like, kind of go into, like, a vertical face or whatever and not be able to climb your way up. You'd have to, like, exit your 2, parkour up, 2 again, and then go through. Of course, normally you'd probably just go back where you came or find a different exit. But I think it'd be really cool, partially with those tunnels, to let Mo go up walls. And then in general, I think that's just a really cool concept for Burrow. Maybe it's too OP. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm not properly picturing the fact that, okay, well, if Mo 2 goes up walls and Mo's trying to run, Mo can just like climb up an entire building and just sit there with a bunch of resist for like 10 seconds. And you're just sitting there shooting it, being like, this game's so fucking stupid. Why did I install it? So, like, you know, maybe there needs to be some counterplay for that. But, like, other than that, could be cool, yeah? Could be a cool concept. Also slightly increase the cooldown on Burrow. T1 change from plus 3 second duration to plus 50 spin DPS. Makes it way more viable to slightly level in lane. The spin doesn't last super long. That should be like 75 total damage. But that's still pretty big for a single ability point. T2 change from plus spin DPS and radius to plus... Okay, to the same radius. And they just kind of changed the order of it. And then 4 seconds burrow time. Burrow T3 increased from plus 2 move speed to plus 4. And slightly upped the cooldown on it by just a second. Sandblast cooldown 2 seconds cheaper. Sandblast duration half a second lower. Sandblast range 10 meters shorter. And then the T1 adds 5 meters of range, which still doesn't catch up to what it used to be. And 50 damage. T2 now, and that's changed from 1 second duration. T2 changed from basically having the cooldown to slows targets, move speed, and dash by 25%, which really doesn't seem very good, I'm gonna be honest. T3 from slowing targets, move speed, and dash by 40% to plus 1 second duration and minus 20 second cooldown. So you really got to be committing to Mo 3 to get the big value out of it, to spam it more often, get bigger duration out of it. That's gonna be no! It's gonna be a big one. Fuck! Mo and Krill combo cooldown. This actually seems messed up, but they're upping the DPS a ton. Okay, maybe it'll pay off. Maybe it'll pay off. Combo cooldown increased from 90 seconds to get this 150 seconds. More than 50% cooldown nerf. Oh my god. Combo DPS increased from 35 to 60. Combo, which is a ton. That's base damage has basically been doubled. That's a lot. Combo T1 changed from plus 30% bullet resistor in combo to plus 100% lifesteal. So you can eventually sustain a lot more while comboing rather than all the way maxing it out. That can be quite a bit. I'm also not totally sure. I'm assuming the lifesteal, I don't even know how that's programmed. I wonder if Torment Pulse lifesteal would proctor in that. Like if you're Torment Pulting, if you're Scourging, if they're in an Outfire, do you get lifesteal from those items, abilities, whatever? Or is it just the hands damage that you get lifesteal from? I'm not actually totally sure. I would assume you get it from those, that it's just Spirit lifesteal, but I'm not totally sure. Combo T2 changed from 0.7 second duration. Oh, wow. To plus 60 DPS and plus 50% bullet resist, which means if you get Mo ult level 2, no, you can't spam it anywhere near as fast, but you go from 35 base DPS originally to 120. And the duration shorter, but like Mo is throwing them hands a lot harder in the early game. Oh my God, but way less spammable. That's interesting. And then also the 1 got more damage too. And T1 of the 2. And then his T3 changed from plus 32 DPS and 80% lifesteal to 0.7 second duration, which was on the T2, and minus 60 second cooldown, which gets him all the way back to its original cooldown. So interesting changes to how you level Mo ult. I think I overall like it. I think it'll feel pretty brutal till you max it as far as spamming ult, but I think the DPS changes are really nice and overall a buff. Paige. Her 1 has been renamed to Bookworm from Conjure Dragon. Cooler name for sure. Fixed initial location not starting where you click it. Okay, I don't know exactly what that means. I'm assuming just basically made it less buggy. Cooldown increased by 3 seconds. T1 changed from minus 5 second cooldown to plus 2 second trail duration, plus 1 meter width. T2 changed from plus 2 second trail duration to minus 8 second cooldown and plus 10 meter travel range. And then T3 damage DPS rescaled from 104.27, which would be upfront, and then tick damage to 130. Similar. T3 also grants a charge, which already was charged, but like it grants an extra charge just in general. Renamed her 2 defend and fight, renamed to plot armor. Yo, give that guy a raise. Who the fuck? Sorry, I shouldn't say guy. Give whoever a raise. Plot armor goes fucking hard. That is actually, we're playing Paige now. I already liked Paige just fine. I'm playing her like for the name alone. That is so fucking sick, man. Plot armor for the AoE barrier ability. Sorry, AoE at T3, only at T3. That's so cool. Plot armor, barrier spirit scaling reduced by 0.3, and then the T3, which is where you get the AoE barrier, also increases spirit scaling by 0.3 to make up for it. Captivating read height area no longer increases with range bonuses. I didn't even know it did that. Cooldown increased by 5, immobilized duration reduced by 0.25. Cooldown increased on the T1 from minus 6 to minus 11, so you can spam it more. T2 immobilized duration increased to make up for the original immobilized nerf. So 0.25 extra on that. So it goes from 1 second to 2 second from leveling the T2. T3 also, along with shredding a ton of spirit resist, increases radius by a meter, just pretty small. Rallying charge T2 or ultimate now also reduces cooldown by 30 seconds. And the T3 increases the max amp from 100% to 150%. So if you're casting it at range, it can heal more damage more now. Okay. We're getting places. We still have a lot to go. Paradox. Pulse grenade radius reduced from 6 meters to 5.5. Oh, it increases by a meter per pulse now. Okay. The amp per stack reduced from 6% to 4%, like the damage amp that you get. The cooldown is increased by 4 seconds. The spirit scaling is reduced by 0.2. The move speed slow of minus 30% for 2 seconds is turned into minus 20% time slow. So effectively applying 20% time slow for 0.2 seconds, which is cool. Very fitting for the hero. Probably overall similar, right? I guess not necessarily that similar. It's cool. It's cool. I think it's really sick for the ability. T1 changed from plus 0.8 duration to minus 12 second cooldown. So it would go to 20 second cooldown, which isn't too crazy, but it's still decent. T2 changed from minus 8 second cooldown to plus 20 pulse damage and 5.5 spirit scaling. So potentially can go up a decent bit in spirit scaling. If anybody's going Echo Shard Pulse Grenade Paradox in 2026, the big 2026. Pulse Grenade T3 changed from plus 36 pulse damage and 0.8 meter radius per pulse to 4% damage amp per stack in 1.6 second duration. Time wall duration reduced by 0.5. No longer damages enemies going through it. Now increases allied bullet speed going through it by 100%. Increases their weapon damage by 30%, which also affects, it specifically affects Carbine, but also it affects Paradox herself, just general bullets. So you can carbine through your own 2 for bonus damage. You can shoot through your own 2 for bonus damage. Your team can shoot through your 2 for bonus damage. T1, like width enhancement, increase by a meter. T2, change from 9% max health damage when you pass through as an enemy to 2.5 second duration and 30% weapon damage. Which, unless they have written this weird, means that just straight up, you're adding that onto the 30% to begin with. So if you throw a time wall down, you can give yourself and your team 60% weapon damage. I don't know about this. It's, in a way, it's cool, but it also seems like it could be a nightmare. I'm scared. I'm scared. T3, change from silencing enemies to allowing charges. Oh my god, we have charge time wall back. It's been so many people don't even know that used to be a thing, man. I'm so old. And granting +1 charge. So Paradox 2 has been massively shifted from kind of adding to her burst damage combo and silencing to give her more overall CC and impact in the fight, to instead being kind of more of a quirky support hero where she is picking, but she's also providing giant amps for her and her team to deal damage from range. And then to also potentially wall off damage to some degree. Bullets still go through time wall. Oh, wait. Yeah. Bullets still go through time wall. It just takes a while. On the enemy side, that is. But then kind of potentially making it harder for the enemies to shoot through time wall, because that's just how it works. And then your team can shoot through back and do a ton of amp damage. It's an interesting way to change her. It's weird. I don't even know if it's actually for the better, but it's definitely, it'll change her a lot for sure. Carbine cooldown increased by 3 seconds. Speed spirit scaling on Carbine, because it makes you faster, increased by 0.04. I don't know how much that'll end up being. I'm not sure. Base damage scaling increased by 25%. That's pretty big. Carbine hitting quite a bit harder. The T2 changed from -8 second cooldown and 2 second charge hold to -12 second cooldown, which I think will just feel better. I think it'll basically, I guess they also nerfed the cooldown. I don't know. Overall, it'll feel similar, I guess. I don't think the charge hold mattered that much in my head. Kinetic Carbine T3 now also increases charge hold by 2 seconds. Swap cooldown takes 20 more seconds for cooldown, 75 seconds to 95. No longer has the 80% Spirit Lifesteal that just came with it. Damage changed from 115.6 Spirit Scaling to 10% current health. So it does like no damage. That's super weird. Wait, Paradox might be unintentionally gutted right now, because they're trying to rework her as a hero. She'll have more CC on the 1, generally speaking. The 2 is significantly changing to be more of a buff to herself and her team for damage. Her 3 did get buffed a bit. Her ult does like potato damage, but I guess in a way already did, but also she took the damage off the 2, so it does way less damage when you're comboing overall. That's weird. 10% current health is awful, man. That's so little. Current health, not max HP. Because like max HP is still really little for an ult. Like that's a tank buster proc, man. That's so tiny. That's weird. But yeah, T1 changed from -15 second cooldown to 200 meter barrier, or not 200 meter, 200 barrier with 1.5 spirit scaling. Swap T2 changed from 81 damage to plus 13 meter cast range and 35 second cooldown. So you are getting range on it a lot sooner. T3 changed from plus 15 meter cast range to swaps additional enemies in a 7 meter radius and plus 10 current health damage. So that one's bigger. And I'm assuming the way that works is it's additional enemies within a 7 meter radius of who you're hitting. And 7 meters isn't that big. But if a few people are clumped, you can pull a bunch of people into your team. That's spicy. And then also if they're remotely full, you're doing like 20% of their health bar. Whether it's one person, multiple people, whatever. That's interesting. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We'll see how Paradox is feeling. I don't know. That's going to be a really big change. Pocket. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm going to be so exhausted after this, man. I can already feel it setting in. Barrage projectile speed increased by 15%. Barrage now lets you use stamina during the ability. Oh my God. Okay. Barrage, that's Pocket 1. You can now like air dash during Pocket 1. Now lets you use Flying Cloak during the ability. Oh my God, the Ido buff is going crazy right now. Barrage T1 increased from 12.6 damage per projectile to plus 16. The cooldown on T2 Barrage is increased from -14 to -16. The T3 increases the radius. Pocket getting massive buffs. Reduced cooldown on the 2 by 6 seconds, just in general. Damage reduced by 10, that's not that big of a deal. Duration increased. Oh, it travels slower. Okay, so it doesn't move quite as far. and it flies a little longer. So you have a little more time to play with the TP, but it overall goes the same distance. T1 on the 2 changed from minus 14 second cooldown to plus 70 damage. So you get the upfront burst damage even sooner now. That is a single ability point is 130 damage flying cloak. T2 changed, to be fair, it'll have a longer cooldown early game, but still. T2 changed from, oh my god, early game Glock it, from plus 76 damage to plus 5 weapon damage upon cast, which is per, like, Pocket has a shotgun, that is per shot, it hits very hard. Flying Cloak T3 changed from plus 7 weapon damage after teleporting for 10 seconds to plus 1.6. Oh, and you don't need a TP to the T2 now. You just need a TP to it. It's just on cast. That's crazy too. Huge Glock it buffs. So change from the weapon damage to plus 1.6 second travel time, so you can 2 farther / have longer to teleport, and minus 14 seconds cooldown. Pocket 3 spirit scaling increased from 0.61 to 0.9. T3 now also reduces move speed by 40%. The fire rate slow on the T3 got buffed a tiny bit. The T3 escape duration got buffed a lot from plus 0.5 seconds to plus 1.5 seconds. So you can just sit in that shit. T3 now also, oh my god, wait. Sitting in Pocket 3 and being unkillable would be really funny now. I might have to try that. I'm assuming duration works on Pocket 3 time. I haven't tried. Superior duration Pocket 3... Echo Shard? No. 3 Echo Shard 3 into... Why can't I think of what it's called right now? The T4, where you just sit there immune? I don't know why I can't think of it. I don't buy it that often, but like I know the name of it. To the T4, where you just sit there immune, which is it's your E-shift. And that buys enough time you can maybe 3 again. Probably not enough time that you can Echo Shard 3 again. You might, like, obviously, like, they could just ignore you and move on. But, like, Pocket being basically immortal with insanely long 3s that you, like, duplicate and then E-shift through, that sounds really funny. Like, that might actually, that just for memes alone might be worth. And then also the T3 increases the radius on the 3 by 4 meters. Affliction no longer applies current health damage now up front. The DPS got slightly buffed. The spirit scaling got slightly buffed. Cooldown increased by 10 seconds. T1 cooldown increased by 15 or reduced by 15 seconds to kind of make up for the cooldown change to begin with. T2 no longer reduces healing. T2 increases radius by 4 meters. T3 no longer increases radius by 6 meters, but now prevents all healing and slightly increases spirit scaling. So late game Pocket ults are 100% anti-heal. Potentially pretty crazy. Especially because you couldn't proc Healbane on the ult before. Which you still can't, but like it doesn't proc items. Rem, actually shockingly few changes. Lil Helper's Trooper base healing changed from 10 a second to 8 a second. The delay between heals has been reduced to the frequency of healing is more constant. Okay. Lil Helper's Trooper healing spirit scaling increased from 0.125 to 0.14, not that big. Sleep move speed during nap time reduced from 2 meters a second to 1.5 meters a second, in line with the Haze change with her sleep. Nap time sleep duration decreased from 4.25 to 4. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. The radius decreased from 20 to 17. That's going to be a little rough for Rem ult. Nap time T2 changed from unstoppable and minus 35% damage resist while channeling to plus 0.5 seconds sleep duration, which I don't think is that good, and 3 meter radius. So they kind of gutted nap time T2, which I thought was pretty good. And then nap time T3 now also grants plus 50% damage resist while channeling. So you can't be unstoppable during Rem ult now. That's pretty big. That's a massive Rem hit. And unless I'm tripping, I don't think Rem was that crazy. So I feel like it's kind of an unnecessary Rem hit. Yeah, I don't know if I'm tripping or what. 7 move speed no longer scales with spirit power. Sprint speed increased from 0.6 to 1.8. Oh my god. They had to make 7 slow because 7 got so fast. Lightning Ball slows down less versus non-heroes. Ooh. So it's easier to pass through minion waves and like guardians and stuff now. Lightning Ball fixed now doing damage if another ball was already hitting a target. I'm assuming they mean not doing damage. And I didn't even realize that was a thing. So maybe it was inconsistent. I don't know. So Ball 7 might have just gotten super buffed and my ignorant ass didn't realize that Ball 7 wasn't doing all it was capable of. I don't know. Not too often do you have 2 balls going at the same time, but sometimes you do. Lightning Ball T2 increased lifetime by 1 second. Static Charge is 2. Reduced damage by 3. Oh my god, it's over. Reduced cast range by 1 meter. No longer scales. Oh, cast range no longer increases spirit power. That seems fine. That makes sense. Cooldown reduction, added a second of it on the T1. Not a big deal. T2 now increases cast range by 5 meters. Sure, kind of makes up for what they already did. T3 increases damage as well by 160. So eventually now if you upgrade the T3, it actually like kind of does damage. That's about it. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like too crazy of a change. Power. Oh, this is big. Power surge duration no longer scales with spirit power. You could make this infinite with spirit power. You could just give it infinite uptime. So that's a big hit. Cooldown increased from 48 to 50. Max jumps increased from 3 to 4. So it can bounce around a lot more with the chain lightning. Power surge T1 increased from minus 15 seconds to minus 18 seconds. For the cooldown, by the way. They don't say cooldown, but like that's what they mean, the cooldown. The T2 change from minus 10% spirit resist for 6 seconds to plus 3 meter move speed, plus 8 damage, and increased spirit scaling of 0.23, which feels pretty good. I don't remember what the scaling would have been on the T3 before. They're basically moving it over here. That seems pretty strong. I think Power Surge T2 very good. And change from 11 shock damage scaling and 3 max jumps. Oh, I forgot they took the max jumps off, so that's a big deal too. To minus 15% spirit resist for 8 seconds and 12-second duration. So 7 overall, actually getting a really big hit to his 3, but like level 1, and maybe like by T2, like T1, T2, and before you put anything in it, it should be feeling a little better, but the max rank is nowhere near as broken because it's not getting as many jumps. It's not quite getting as much damage or scaling. And then you no longer just have infinite uptime on 7-3 in the late game. So that's a big deal. Storm Cloud allows movement in the base ability at 1.5 meters, which is the same as like the sleep movement everybody's getting right now. So it's not much, but it's a little. Bullet resist reduced during the ult from 20% to 0%. Bullet resist from the T1 increased to make up for it from 35% to 55%. And then T3 increases the move speed by plus 3 meters. So it gets to 4.5 meters, which I think is not that much more than it used to be. It's saying it was 3.8. Shiv! Stamina reduced from 3 to 2. I mean, hey, everybody loves a Shiv nerf, but it feels a little weird, right? Like, shouldn't Shiv be somewhat mobile? I don't know, maybe not. Stamina movement speed reduced from 6.7 to 6.5. I don't know what that means. They mean recovery speed? They might mean recovery speed. Bullet damage growth increased by a little bit, not much. Serrated Knives no longer has impact damage. The bleed DPS has been increased from 4 to 10. The spirit scaling from 0.13 to 0.15. The T1 from plus 1 charge to plus 2 second duration. Oh god. The T2 from plus 2 second duration to plus 2 charges. The T3 no longer has plus 30 impact damage, but the DPS is increased from 5.5 to 12, or 5.5 to plus 12 on the T3, and it increases the spirit scaling by 0.1. So, maxed Shiv Knives, as far as the bleed is concerned at least, because the impact damage is gone, which did matter, but as far as the bleed is concerned, can get like double the spirit scaling it used to have, and in general a lot more DPS. Overall, I'm not really picturing, like, I feel like it makes Shiv a lot more counterable. His knives were already pretty counterable, but that much more counterable. And then that much like slower burn as far as his damage is concerned, for sure. So Slice and Dice is 2, cooldown increased by a second, impact damage reduced by 15. Reduces spirit resistance on enemies hit by 6% for 16 seconds, multiple instances stack. It doesn't say there's a cap, so hypothetically, if you spam Shiv Dash unbelievably hard, maybe it gets super OP. I feel like that would get so absurd to begin with to get that many Shiv Dashes that wouldn't be the reason it's OP, so it probably doesn't matter. T1 on the Shiv Dash increased from 3-second cooldown to 6-second cooldown. So minus 3-second cooldown to minus 6-second cooldown, so you can spam it more. T2 changed from plus 50 impact damage to minus 8% spirit resist and 2 meter dash range. And then the T3 now also grants 50 impact damage. So Shiv Dash got gutted early game as far as just general damage, because you no longer get the bonus damage on the T2. You do less damage to begin with. So that's a huge hit. However, with that T2 change, especially if you're double dashing, if you hit a rage dash on a single enemy, you're now capable of shredding 28%, because I'm assuming the double dash procs it twice, 28% spirit resist, and then you still have the cooldown on dash tier 3. So hypothetically, you could maybe shred like 50+% spirit resist off somebody. So that's crazy. There's like a new element to Shiv now, which could be cool, but you should be more knife gun focused for your damage. Killing Blow is no longer unit targeted. Finally, man, no longer auto lock Shivel. You jump in the direction forward with some small control. So I no clue how missable it'll be. But it's not auto lock. Damage amp reduced on killing blow from 15% to 14%, which would be like rage, right? Yeah, that'd be the rage damage. T2 changed from plus 5% enemy health threshold and plus 6% damage amp to plus 8% damage amp. So the ult executes are no longer quite as easy to get as you rank up the ultimate. But you get a little bit more rage damage. And then T3 now grants you 20 seconds to recast the ult rather than removing the cooldown. Okay, so I think the way that'll work is you can still ult the entire team. I'm assuming you can execute somebody, recast, execute somebody, recast, execute somebody, recast, but you can't just carry it on to a whole other fight 20 seconds later. So it's that 20 seconds is what you have to work with, and then you're getting like a 100-second cooldown or whatever it is. So that should be like a decent change where it's still keeping some of its theme, but it's less just rotate around, kill somebody, rotate somewhere else, kill somebody, rotate somewhere else, kill somebody, in like potentially the mid game. And then also now gets that enemy health threshold on the execute of 5%. Silver, Mauling Leap, I'm assuming is Rage Stance 2, but I'm not totally sure. I'm assuming it's that or not Rage Stance, but Wolf Stance 2. Reduce spirit scaling from 1.9 to 1.5. Fixed Tail Whack being considered a movement ability. That bugged the shit out of me. That's her Wolf Form 3. So dumb that it was a movement ability. It could get slowing hex and stuff. Tripped me out. Tail Whack disarm duration reduced from 2.5 to 2 seconds, thank God. Slow duration increased from 1.5 to 2 seconds. That's fine. I just want to be less disarmed. T3 changed from plus 1 second disarm duration to plus 1.5 second debuff duration. I don't know entirely what that means. That might mean literally any debuff she applies, even from other abilities, are lasting longer. I don't know. Could be interesting. I don't know. Lycan Curse cooldown increased from 35 seconds to 50 seconds is big. Lycan Curse base health bonus reduced from 100 to 75. No longer grants plus 14% bullet and spirit resist. No longer grants plus 2 meter move speed. Holy shit, she got gutted. T1 resist increased from 14% to 15%. T2 bonus health increased from 125 to 150. So she's slower. She's less tanky. She can't ult anywhere near as often. Get farmed is like, is like all there is to it. Oh, baby, we're eating good. Victor bullet damage, very slightly buffed. Pain battery now starts charged. Seems nice. You no longer have to charge your one to play the game. You can just level your one and use the one at a time. Range, and that probably includes when you spawn. Range increased from 20 to 28. Way longer range on the one. Reduced randomness on the projectile pass. I didn't even know there was much randomness. Well, any randomness. Bolt count increased from 5 to 7. So it should be easier to not somehow kind of spread it out around somebody, I think would be the big thing. It wouldn't like up the damage or whatever. T2 does up the damage, plus 14 from what it was before. T3 increased spirit scaling by 0.6, which doesn't seem super crazy, but that's just added on. So like now his one can hit harder if you level it up. Jumpstart cooldown is 2, increased by 7 seconds. Move speed reduced by 1 meter a second. Spirit scaling reduced by 0.6. That's really big. T1 increased the move speed from 0.15 meters to 3 meters. T2 now also reduces cooldown by 8, so slightly buffing compared to what the old cooldown was. But before you had that, the 2 is decently nerfed. Seeing a big theme of that, of a lot of abilities getting more reward for leveling them. So the ability is not as strong to begin with in this patch. But then by leveling it, you can make it at least a little bit stronger than it used to be. Putting more emphasis on like kind of opening up different build paths, hypothetically. I mean, the 2's already good to level, but still. Jumpstart T3 now also provides plus 1 charge. Jumpstart T3 no longer reduces cooldown. Jumpstart T3, which was small, I think it was like 4 seconds. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Now also increases spirit scaling by 0.8. So again, slightly buffing it compared to what it used to be, but still he's eating a big spirit scaling nerf until he maxes out the jumpstart, as far as that healing is concerned. Aura of Suffering, his 3, time to max DPS. Oh, that's big. Reduced from 10 to 6. So it hits way harder, way faster. Not overall DPS, but just like it gets to it quicker. The radius increased from 7.7 to 10 meters. The toggle cooldown reduced from 2.5 to 2. The min DPS reduced from 16 to 12. Spirit scaling on it reduced from the minimum of 0.18 to 0.135. The max DPS is reduced. Okay, so it's like it charges up faster, but also the DPS is generally lower, at least early. Reduced from 70 to 54. The spirit scaling on max DPS from 0.9 to 0.67. The T2 min max DPS, oh my god. my fucking lungs, man. From 8 to 36 to 6 to 26. So that's a pretty big hit. As far as like the T2 scaling that you're leveling, it's no longer as much. So not only is it actually starting lower damage, like both minimum and maximum wise, but also the T2 scaling to add to that is also lower. The text progress bar indicates time to max DPS. That's cool. So it's easier to tell like how soon you're getting there. And then T3 reduced from plus 13% damage to plus 15%, which wouldn't be reduced. That'd be like enhanced. It isn't that big of a deal. So Victor 3 is just like generally nerfed, but it does ramp up to its damage faster. But the damage is enough lower that it's just overall a nerf. It's actually, I'm surprised that's how they did that. Yeah, it's actually just overall a Victor 3 nerf. His ultimate radius reduced by a meter. His rebirth health reduced by 10% from 60 to 50. His shocking reanimation T1 changed from plus 3 meter radius and plus 90 to while on cooldown, plus 15% fire rate and 6 spirit damage per bullet. So that's what I think it used to be, right? Obviously, that's like what his tier 3 has been. So, and 0.06 scaling. So now early game, if you put a single point in ult, you can potentially get quite a bit more damage on your bullets while the ult's on cooldown. Could be good. T2 rebirth health increased from 40% to 50%, so you still fully refresh your health bar at T2 of Victor ult. And then reanimation T3 changed from while on cooldown, you get the fire rate and spirit damage per bullet to plus 6 meter radius, plus 1 second stun, and minus 50 seconds cooldown. So you can ult more often. On to Vindicta. Oh my god, there's so many. Fire rate no longer scales with spirit power. That was a big one. Bullet damage now scales with spirit power. So shoot less fast. That basically is going to be a nerf to her too, because fire rate scaling with spirit power means she can get more of those 2 bullets off, which also scale with spirit power. Ammo reduced by 3 from 22 to 19. Bullet velocity increased by like 15, 20%. Stake damage reduced by 15, not that big of a deal. Spirit scaling on it increased by 0.13, kind of makes up for it. Projectile speed on the stake's a little bit faster. T1 stake gets plus 65 damage instead of minus 35% fire rate. T3 tether duration increased from 0.5 to 0.75. And then T3 capture radius increased from plus 1 to plus 2 meters. So bigger tether, slightly longer duration at the absolute max rank. Flight now allows you to use melee. Punch Dicta is here, baby. I knew it was worth getting 2.5 hours in. I fucking knew it. You can now use parry during flight. That's just been actually needed for a long time. Now gives you plus 50% item cast range. So you can yeet Outfire, you can yeet Phantom Strike, you can yeet, I don't know. I can't think of too many things where that would matter. Normally while you're flying, the big item is Dispel Magic, which doesn't need cast range. Flight spirit damage scaling reduced from 0.22 to 0.18, which is the spirit damage on your bullets while you're in the air. The flight duration is reduced by 2 seconds. T2 flight now adds back those 2 seconds. T3 spirit damage per bullet is reduced from 12.6 to 10, but it also adds spirit scaling of 0.1 per bullet, which seems like quite a bit. That seems like a lot. Because if you're getting a big spirit build on Vindicta, again, 200 is kind of my go-to number for like the late game. Then while your T3 bullet damage got reduced by the 2.6, that extra spirit scaling could add 20, which is a ton. But her earlier spirit damage, the T0 or whatever spirit damage, also took a 0.04 hit. So eventually, like, it does add to it, but up until then, it's weakened as well. Flight T3 now refreshes duration on hero kill is spicy. Vindicta 3 now releases a swarm of crows in a cone forward, hitting all enemies along the path. So I'm assuming kind of like Silence Wave a little bit. The debuff duration on the 3 no longer scales with spirit power. The debuff duration is increased from 4 to 5 seconds. The bleed damage is reduced from 2.7% to 2.2%. The damage is increased from 37 to 40. The cooldown is increased from 28 to 32 seconds. The T1 changed from ricocheting 2 times, because now it's just like an AoE, to reduces healing by 35%. The T2 now also increases bleed damage by 0.5%. And the T3 now also increases debuff duration by 2 seconds. So she's still getting... I don't remember what the T2 did, honestly. Maybe cooldown? T2 is cooldown. Yeah, so the T2 still has cooldown, adds to the bleed. The T3 still has bullet and spirit as a shred, and adds to the debuff duration. Assassinate, while scoped, no longer unscoped when using items. It's been a while since I played Vindicta. I didn't remember that was a thing. Now is a 4-second buffer on impact for bonus credit. That is big. So if you've recently sniped somebody, similar to Moan Krill, similar to Grey Talon Owl, you don't need to execute with it to get your credit, which no longer is souls, it's now weapon damage, but still, that's big. While scoped, it now plays a sound for you when it's fully charged. And then weapon damage bonus increased from 5% to 6%. Viscous. Splatter bounces once by default. Used to be a thing you could max into and get two bounces. So now you just get one to begin with, which sounds really strong because Splatter already smacks early game. That might be crazy. Cooldown reduced by 4 seconds. Okay, the spirit scaling got gutted, reduced from 0.17 or 1.77 to 0.8. So more than 50% spirit scaling nerf. Ground effect now increases. That's sick. That's sick. There was a hero in the unbelievably unknown game called Gigantic that had some stuff like this. And I've always thought Viscous felt the most similar in this game. That's super cool. You can slide on the splatter impact for 60% slide distance for you and allies. I don't remember how long it lasts. I'm assuming at least a few seconds. Splatter multiple hit damage value reduced from 50% to 50 to 38 to 26. So if you're hitting multiple splatters from those bounces, the more you hit, the less damage you get per hit. T1 radius increased from +1 to +2 meters. T2 cooldown increased from -12 to -14. And then already there'd been a splatter cooldown reduction. So going from 30 at base rank and then 18 at T2 to 26 at base rank and then 12 at T2. And then T3 spirit scaling increased from +0.4 to +1.3, which means getting all the way up to 2.1 spirit scaling. And the T3 still adds 2 bounces, but those bounces do nerf each other a little bit more. So if you land 4 viscous 1 bounces, you still have the same base damage as before. You have 2.1 scaling now instead of basically 1.8. And you're now hypothetically capable of doing, what is the math? Before it would have been hypothetically 200%. Now it could be, it'd still be close. It'd still be close. Now you could do like 220, 225%. So yeah, it should still be pretty similar. It should just, the bounces should be easier. There are more bounces total. It's easier to potentially AoE people would be the bigger thing. Cube now has a very brief period where allies cannot cancel to prevent accidental cancels. Okay. The heal spirit scaling on it increased from 0.14 to 0.3. Seems like quite a bit. T3 cooldown increased from -21 seconds to -25 seconds. Puddle Punch now grants plus 30% air control when affecting yourself or your allies. The charge time is increased from 1.5 to 1.7. You can spam the shit out of this. I'm surprised they didn't up it more. The slow is increased from 15% to 20%. Puddle Punch now acts if it's close range. Okay, I'd asked this 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago, I brought this up. It now acts as if it's close range. So it'll just simply proc items like point blank. And like it said, it'll also proc stuff like opening rounds if they're in the health threshold. So Sharpshooter would not proc on Puddle Punch, at least according to this. But point blank just automatically would, no matter how far away you're casting it, which makes sense. Puddle Punch radius reduced from 4.5 to 4 meters. T2 changed from plus 27 damage and minus 15% boost blow to plus 1.5 meter radius and plus 30 damage. Goo Ball can no longer carry Urn. Good change. Turn rate is improved a bit. Oh boy. Can now use abilities and items to begin with rather than being locked in the T3. Oh my god. Goo Ball meta is back. Cooldown increased by 15 seconds. Duration on the goo increased by 1 second. Bullet and Spirit Resist reduced from 60% to 35%. That's a big hit. And then Goo Ball T1 changed from plus 5 duration to minus 30 second cooldown. T2 is basically the same. It got very, very slightly nerfed of just plus 70 damage. T3 changed from can now use abilities and items to plus 6 second duration and plus 0.3 second stun duration. The Goo Ball has not been as big of a deal lately. Might be getting bigger. We'll have to see. Warden, bullet growth per boon. Thank God. Warden gun's so fucking OP. Please nerf it more. Reduced from 0.44 to 0.38. Probably still needs more. Holy shit, Warden gun is just broken. Actually, stupid DPS. It's not even, I haven't even been running into Wardens. It's just literally true. Like, I'm not even, like, I didn't have a recent bad experience. I was playing Warden and I was like, what the fuck? So that's all there is to it. Outclass weapon damage reduction reduced from minus 30% to minus 25%. T2 damage slightly buffed from plus 36 to plus 40. T2 now also increases the weapon damage reduction by 20%, which means it goes to 45%? Really? That's a shitload. No longer increases radius by a meter. T3 cooldown increased from minus 6.5 to minus 7, now also increases radius by 2 meters. Warden 2 duration reduced from 7 seconds to 5 seconds. Cooldown reduced by 2 seconds. The barrier scales in the base ability now of 0.5 second or 0.5 spirit scaling. The T2 cooldown's been increased by 3 seconds, or reduced an extra 3 seconds, and also now increases the duration by +2 to make up for the duration nerf earlier. And then the T3 change now goes from 150 barrier health, or plus 150, and improved spirit scaling of 3.7 to 40% debuff resist and improved scaling of 2.5. So the barrier got overall hard nerfed at the T3, and it doesn't have as much barrier health to begin with. It doesn't have as much spirit scaling, but you do get a ton of debuff resist, which maybe could be good. Would depend on the situation. I'd say overall probably a nerf though, on average. Binding Word is 3 cast range, reduced from 20 meters to 15. That's cast range, not radius, so you have to be closer. Cooldown reduced by 3 seconds. T1 changed from +1 second immobilized to +20% bullet damage to trapped heroes for 5 seconds. T2 changed from -19 second cooldown to 0.75 second duration and 12 meter cast range. So lasts longer, but the T1 already got changed, so it doesn't last quite as long as it used to. You can now cast it from farther than you used to, but not by a ton. Doesn't seem like too big of a deal. And again, it's not the radius that they're changing. Otherwise, that'd be crazy. T3 changed from the +20% bullet damage to -18 second cooldown and silences enemies until they escape or are trapped. What? Until they escape or are trapped. Oh, that is, I figured it was while they're trapped. Whoa. So Warden T3, of his 3, the moment you put it on them, they don't get to cast abilities until they either actually get caged or they escape the cage radius. That's super weird. Unless they wrote it wrong. That makes sense that could be a thing. It's a weird way to do it. Wow. Yeah, I figured to be silenced while they're caged. And I was like, okay, well, that's, you're already super punished at that point. I don't know how much it'll actually matter, but it could situationally matter a lot. Damn, that might be, because that's a slowing hex to some degree. As well as more than that. It's also harder to fight back. That's potentially a really big deal. Also stuff like Yama ult that could straight up immune it. Nope. No, you can't because you're silenced. Of course, if she's already in ult, then, she'll be fine. Last stand channeling bullet and spirit resist increased from 30% to 60%. That's while you're starting to channel the ult, not while the ult's going. Radius reduced by 1 meter. T1 increased from radius of +3 to +4 to make up for that radius nerf earlier. T3 no longer grants that extra +50% bullet resist, so you get less total compared to before, but more immediately, which overall should be way stronger. T3 duration increased from +2.5 seconds to +3 seconds and grants you unstoppable while channeling, which in my head maybe used to be a thing, but now I can't remember for sure. I can't remember if it's just unstoppable or Warden really used to be a big deal, or if it literally came with the ability. Whoa, crazy Wraith changes. Holy. Card trick cards now have specific suits, not suites. Don't be fooled. I don't know how many people are reading at this point. We're 2 hours, 42 minutes in. I know a lot of people have tuned out by now. That's understandable. I just figured I'd make a patch notes video because it's, holy shit, 3-hour patch notes. I didn't expect it myself. Yeah, suits, as in spades, diamonds, hearts, clubs. So card types. Spades do +70% damage. Diamonds cut enemy resistance by 8% for 5 seconds. Does not stack. Hearts heals you for 75 HP with 1.25 spirit scaling and half heal on non-heroes. Clubs, 30% slow for 3 seconds. And Joker has all of the above effects and it bounces to an additional enemy within 20 meters and has a 1 in 9 chance. Whoa. That is, that's crazy. So I will add in real quick. Spade seems very good. Heart seems very good. Club seems solid. Joker is obviously crazy because it's just all of them, plus it can bounce. Diamond sucks. Just based on, Diamond just objectively seems terrible, right? 8% is not that big of a deal. All the others generally, I would say, are better. So, and it does not stack. So probably should either nerf the others or buff the Diamond. More likely buff the Diamond. Just saying. Just putting that out there. Other than that, card trick base charge count increased from 1 to 2. So you can now have 2 cards to begin with without leveling the ability. Base damage reduced from 60 to 45. Spirit scaling got gutted from 1.0 to 0.55. The buildup takes 25% or 20% longer. The cooldown, which should just be between casts, I believe, which is already short, reduced from 0.75 to 0.5. The post-cast time reduced from 0.2 to 0.1. It now highlights the card that'll be thrown next. Not big surprise. There's whole suits and shit to track now. It now has unique sounds for each card suit that's summoned. That's cool. T1 increased from +1 charges to +2 charges. So rather than going to 2 charges from rank 1, and then 3 charges if you have extra charge. You go to 4 charges rank 1 because you start with an extra and you get an extra. Then extra charge rapid recharge could take it to 5 or 6. That's pretty crazy. Card Trick T2 changed from plus 35 damage to plus 40 damage and increased spirit scaling. Oh god. So basically gives back the damage they had taken away. I'm scared. And then T3, they typoed this, but the T3 changed from plus 50% card summon rate and 30% slow for 1 second to improves card suits and increased Joker chances. So the new totals are 2.5 times damage on Spade. Holy shit. 13% shred on Diamond. 150 heal with 2 times scaling on Heart. Club slow for 50%. Joker has a 1 in 5 chance. Wraith card seems nightmare fuel after this patch. Oh my god. Fixed her 2 interaction with stuns. I don't know exactly what that interaction would be. Full auto her 3 no longer affects allies. Good change. Seemed weird. She was so not a support hero at all. Previously gave half the fire rate to allies. No longer scales the duration with spirit power. So similar to 7, not quite as extreme. Can no longer hypothetically infinite 3. Full auto cooldown reduced by 3 seconds. Full auto base ability now deals plus 2 spirit damage per bullet with 0.03 spirit scaling. Increased the cooldown on the T1 from minus 14 to minus 20. Changed the T2 from 2.52 spirit damage per bullet to plus 10% fire rate and plus 3 second duration, which doesn't seem all that good. Seems like a pretty big nerf to that. And then T3 changed from plus 15% of bullet and spirit lifesteal and increased spirit scaling to unlimited ammo and increased spirit scaling of 0.006 or plus 0.06. There we go. So overall, seems like more spirit damage up front on the 3. Simply no sustain at any point on the 3. No longer can get massive duration out of it from scaling your spirit power. I want to say the eventual spirit scaling from the T3, I think is similar to what it used to be. So I think her 3 is going to hit similarly hard. It just won't last as long, which will naturally nerf its DPS in a lot of situations. Unlimited ammo is honestly probably not that big of a deal. I feel like Wraith already did really well with that, but it's kind of a cool idea. And then her sustain got nerfed, is I think kind of what it comes down to overall. Her ult cooldown is now 10 seconds longer. The cast range got reduced by a lot from 20 to 14. The cast time increased from 0.1 to 0.3. It no longer has a projectile. Oh my god. It now instantly lifts the target for 0.75 seconds and gives you a location target on the ground. After the 0.75 is over, it'll throw the hero toward that location up to 15 meters away. That is so fucking cool. You can like 7 from Stranger Things telekinesis somebody. That is sick. The target will take 100 damage, 40% move slow, and prevent stamina, movement item, and ability usage for 3 seconds. So they can shoot now. They're no longer like disarmed. They're still silenced. There's still movement silence. There's still stamina silenced, or whatever you want to call that, which I guess would still be movement silence. But they can shoot back. They're not disarmed anymore. Because before it was like almost curse. It was disarm plus silence plus movement silence or whatever. Actually, did it prevent stamina? It might not have prevented stamina before. I don't think it did. And then T1 changed from minus 25 second cooldown to plus 100 damage. Seems like quite a bit of damage, right? 170, 200? Goes up to 200 and it's instant. That might be kind of crazy. T2 changed from 0.75 silence and disarm duration to 50 second cooldown reduction. So you get it down to a 70 second cooldown. And then T3 changed from bounces to nearby target to 1.5 second debuff duration and 6 meter throw and cast range, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But the T1, T2 seem really strong. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. We can keep it under 3 hours. Yamato Power Slash, being held down, no longer automatically fires it. I didn't even know that was a thing. I guess it's not been a problem for me. You can now cast parry directly while channeling Power Slash to fire the Power Slash and parry. That seems kind of crazy. I actually had a situation literally today. I was playing a Yamato game where I could have used that. Power Slash base ability now has plus 60% bullet resist while channeling to begin with, rather than getting that from the T1. The cooldown has been increased from 10.5 seconds to 12 seconds. The Power Slash length has been reduced from 25 to 22. That's a pretty big deal. She can use every inch she can get. I know how that sounds. Especially with that forehead. Am I right, boys? Am I right? No, that's like, Yama Power Slash having range is a big deal. So that's a decent hit to it. Power slash T1 changed from plus 60% bullet resist while channeling to 40% slow for 3 seconds. The T2 is changed from minus 2 second cooldown and 40% slow for 3 seconds to minus 4 second cooldown, which is kind of similar to what it used to be, but the slow goes up front. The bullet resist goes up front. The cooldown comes in and makes up for the nerf to the cooldown that she got earlier. T3 now grants plus 8 range. So eventually, like, it's gone nerf from 25 to 22, but that 8 range buff takes it from 25 to 30 once you get it maxed. Flying Strike renamed to Flying Slash. It's now light melee damage rather than spirit damage. You guys hear that pop right there? Oh, that's a good net crack right there. Flying Slash slow increased from 30% to 50%. Flying Slash cooldown increased from 21 seconds to 36 seconds. Flying Slash range increased from 20 meters to 25 meters. Flying Slash T1 changed from 25% to minus 18 second cooldown. So you can spam that shit. Psych, they just nerfed it. Otherwise, you'd be able to spam that shit. So the range is going to help it a lot, which is making it easier to like actually reach people and get in there. The slow will keep them close. Plus you're getting that early slow on your 1. The cooldown takes forever, but you can really easily rank it up to get that cooldown pretty much like the cooldown nerf reverted. So it would actually go from 21 second to 18 second cooldown, as far as what it used to be. T2 changed from plus 20 meter cast range to plus 20 meter cast range and gain 40 spirit for 6 seconds. And her 1 scaling right now is somewhere in the like 2 times range. So that can be 80 extra damage on her 1 alone. Flying Slash T3 changes from can grapple to ally heroes and plus 6 weapon damage for 10 seconds to can grapple to ally heroes, become charged, and grants plus 2 charges, 3 seconds between charges. Like overall, it's just a straight up buff. I'm actually curious how good that would be, though. You probably don't want to buy extra charge or rapid recharge. No, it's probably pretty crazy. Actually, being able to Spider-Man around your team, that's probably the big thing. Is that now being able to grapple to ally heroes should be a way bigger deal. Because you can kind of do something like you would with like Rem 2 or Lash 2. I guess Rem 2 is a little bit more Lash 2. Where you could like 2 in, 3-1, maybe ult, maybe not ult. And then 2 to an ally to get back out. So you can get in, be bursty, and then fly out. And then you can still cancel your grapple early. For anybody that doesn't know the movement tech, you can kind of get extra speed on your grapple if you don't just lock it on. That didn't make sense. If you cancel it early at a certain point in your movement, you can kind of get like a ton of speed ramped up and like slide out and stuff like that. So the in and out play of Yamato just changed a ton. My mouse is dying. I guess I've technically been touching it while we do this video. That's how long the video's been, man. This thing was probably fully charged. Oh my God, it's been so long. The commitment to make this video is off the fucking charts, man. Especially considering I've got places to be soon. I would have actually canceled, I would have stopped recording if that was actually going to get in the way. We should be fine. The video will go up absurdly late if I can't do it in time. Yama 3 Crimson cooldown, or Crimson Slash cooldown increased from 15 seconds to 16 seconds. Fire rate reduction increased from 18% to 30%. T1 changed from minus 26% fire rate to on hit plus 30% melee damage for 4 seconds. So you can 3 into your 2, but you wouldn't normally do that. You can 3 into just smack the shit out of them, but you wouldn't normally do that. Kind of interesting. The T3 on the 3 increased from 9 second cooldown or minus 9 to minus 10 and increases the spirit scaling. That's pretty big by 0.6. And then her ult cooldown increased from 110 to 130. Her resist in ult reduced by 40 reduced from 40% to 30% of both bullet and spirit. The T1 is changed from 14% fire rate to plus 5 weapon damage, which should just straight up be better. She has like a shotgun basically. That should be way better. The fire rate sucked. The T2 now also reduces cooldowns by 25 seconds. She already resets her cooldowns. So what they mean is reduces the ult cooldown by 25 seconds. I am assuming. Which basically undoes the earlier cooldown nerf. And then T3 increased from 20% bullet and spirit resist to 30%. And we're done. Fuck off.
I've been seeking for the glory. Say my name. And I've been trying to write my own story in the search for fame. I'm sitting here in this empty room. Walls keep tumbling down.